Chapter 1592. Target equals, underscore blank. E-search novels. Boss Zhu, you know the situation in the house right now. Grandpa's in isolated practice. And he and Master specifically told us that no matter what happens, we have to bear with it and wait for him to come out of isolation. Qibing said. And that Zhao Qikuan is back as well. If we make any sudden moves and he catches us, we'll be in trouble. I see. Boss Zhu was a loyal follower of the hidden house Zhao's. After hearing Elder Bai and Master Zhao's orders, they naturally had to bear with it. But Boss Zhu was a little confused. Then Master Bing, why did you call me here? Revenge is a given, but not now. Qibing gritted his teeth. That Linny brat, I'll kill him sooner or later. But right now, the most important thing is to find a way to heal Uncle Zhu and let him recover as soon as possible. Even if he can't practice, he needs to stay alive. He's my follower. Even if he's a cripple, Qibing will take care of him. Master Bing, you're truly a wise and kind master. My Zhu brothers, what did we do to deserve Master Bing's favor? Don't worry, Master Bing, Boss Zhu won't disappoint you. Boss Zhu was touched. Although he felt that Master Bing was putting on an act, since it didn't cost much to take care of a cripple. This friendship was very touching. Secondly, we can't make a move in the open, but we can plan and see if we can do it in the dark. We have to ask my master about this, Qibing said. Boss Zhu, you're a trump card. We can't just use you. Right now, only Grandpa and Master know that you've broken through to Earth class. Qikuan and the others probably don't know yet, so you'll be my trump card for the head of house. We can't reveal ourselves too early. I understand. Elder Zhu quickly nodded his head and replied. I called you here to advise you not to be too impulsive. We need to be careful, Qibing said. Before Grandpa comes out of isolation, we need to stay calm. Don't worry, Master Bing. I won't be rash. I'll look at the big picture. I won't do anything rash. Boss Zhu said. That's good, Qibing said. I've already sent a message to Master. I reckon that Master will soon find out about this. When Qibing messaged House Zhao, he heard that Elder Bai was visiting Elder Zhao. Naturally, he didn't have time to pick up the phone. He'd contact Qibing after the visit was over. While they were talking, Elder Bai's call came in. Qibing, why are you looking for me? Elder Bai, on the other hand, quickly returned Elder Zhao's call upon hearing that Qibing was looking for him. Master, something big happened here, Qibing said, explaining everything to Elder Bai, including his analysis of Boss Zhu. Surprise attack. You did the right thing. Elder Bai praised. To achieve great things, one needs to be able to endure for a moment. Sometimes, compromising doesn't mean admitting defeat, but rather, wisdom. Yes, your disciple will remember your words, Master. Before Grandpa comes out of isolation, we must keep a low profile, Qibing said. What should we do now? Regarding Boss Zhu, I'll think of something, but with his injuries like this, I'm afraid I can't do anything. Let's just wait and see. I can't say that I can cure him, but keeping him alive should be no problem. Ask Boss Zhu to send him to me, Elder Bai said. As for dealing with Lin Yi, there's no need to rush. We'll talk about that after your grandpa comes out of isolation. The old head broke through to Sky Class, and he has some say in the Noble House Council. He can even become one of the elders there. As far as I know, the Aristocratic Family Arbitration Council isn't completely united. After that person left, the elders of the Aristocratic Family Arbitration Council have been occupied by the heaven-rank experts of the various hidden families. At first, everyone was wholeheartedly working for the common good, but now without news of that person, who would still follow the rules from back then. As far as I know, some people are already eager to change the rules of the Arbitration Association. Oh? So you're saying that there won't be any restrictions on the hidden house's appearance in the common world? Qibing quickly asked. I can't say that there won't be any restrictions, but it's still possible to turn a blind eye, Elder Bai said. Of course, I've only heard a general idea. I don't have a definite conclusion yet. Although the council isn't as united as it used to be, there are still people who are against it. So that's how it is. Then I won't be in a hurry, Qibing nodded. Also, Qikuan is back. You need to be careful as well. I'll help you heal your leg, but the gap between you and Qikuan is too big. Other than your contributions to House Zhao, you don't have much of an advantage over Qikuan. You can't slack off on your training. Elder Bai said. Don't worry, master. I'll work hard. Qibing wasn't joking. He really did mean it. For the head of house position, he decided to give it his all. At first, Linny thought that the hidden House Zhao would do something. At the very least, they'd send an earth class to cause trouble. But after waiting for 2 days, nothing happened. This disappointed Lin Yi. To tell the truth, Lin Yi was willing to do anything for the sake of breaking through. Lin Yi even wanted to fight an earth class to motivate himself to break through. The Lin Yi now was different from the Lin Yi in the tomb. Back then, Lin Yi was only Mystic mid-class peak. Now Lin Yi was Mystic late class. He was only 2 steps away from earth class. After all, if he gave it his all, there was a chance that he'd be able to make it. Moreover, this was exactly what he was looking for. But the hidden House Zhao was like a tortoise, not making a sound at all. This made Lin Yi very depressed. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the class reunion. Lin Yi waited for the masters from House Zhao, but they didn't show up. He could only go to the resort with Mingyao and Yushu. The resort was located in a small town near Songshan. The scenery here was not bad, but most of it was man-made. But to these students, it didn't matter. They were here to eat, drink, and play, not to see the scenery. Chapter 1593. Target equals _blank. E-Search Novels Chapter 1592. Love sponsored by Zhong Pingyang, of course. There were also those who had vague feelings for each other back in high school. Due to the stress of the exams, they didn't have the chance to make things clear. Now that they'd graduated, they had plenty of time and wanted to use this opportunity to get closer to their sweetheart. When Lin Yi's Land Rover stopped at the resort's parking lot, there were already quite a few luxury cars parked there. Lin Yi hadn't realized that there were quite a few rich people in his class, but it made sense. Songshan's first school was a private school, but it was also a school for the rich. Other than Tang Yun, who had exceptional grades, the rest of the students were from decent families. Lin Yi had just parked his car when a Mercedes-Benz SUV stopped next to Lin Yi's car, giving Lin Yi a fright. But when he saw the driver, he smiled faintly. Kong Xiaobo, you bought a car too? Lin Yi smiled as he looked at the temporary license plate on the car. The car hadn't been officially registered yet, so it was obvious that it had just been picked up. Ah, boss, you don't care about me at all. Kong Xiaobo said bitterly as he jumped off the car. I called your house a few times recently, but that Wu Qingtian guy said you were working hard on your cultivation. I didn't dare disturb you. I thought you got a new follower and didn't want me anymore. Lin Yi smiled. I was a bit busy, that's why I didn't contact you guys. But your follower number 1, and Chen Tian is at most follower number 3 or 4. He'll have to be more polite when talking to you. He's quite eye-catching. I'm not a practitioner, but he's very respectful to me. Kong Xiaobo nodded. This car was just picked up. Fatty Lai told me to get one a long time ago. He said that I'm the vice chairman of the company, but I don't even have a car. It's a bit too shabby to go out and meet customers. But I was afraid that it would be too high profile, so I only bought it after the college entrance exam. Even though Fatty Lai was the general manager of the medical company and Kong Xiaobo was the vice president, he didn't have any objections when Kong Xiaobo called him Fatty Lai. After all, he was Lin Yi's underling, and in terms of seniority, he was still Kong Xiaobo's underling. How's the company doing? Lin Yi hadn't studied the company for a long time. There had been too many things going on recently, so he hadn't asked about it. The painkiller is already on the market, and the response is very good. There's no problem with the sales volume. It's just that the production line needs to be expanded again. Kong Xiaobo smiled bitterly. Boss, the company's finances are suddenly a lot tighter after you transferred 100 million yuan away. Lin Yi remembered that the 100 million he'd spent on the Ice Palace test was from Fatty Lai. It seemed that he'd have to find a way for Fatty Lai and Xiaobo to earn some money. It seemed that they were in a bit of a tight spot right now. Yeah, when I'm free, I'll think of a way to get some money. Lin Yi was thinking. Should House Yu or House Xiao fork out this money? Or should he extort a bit from each? These two families weren't stable, so they better not mess with him. What a miscalculation. When Ice Palace left Xiao Xiao behind, wouldn't it have been better if Lin Yi had asked for the deposit back? Ice Palace wouldn't have refused to give him the deposit. Who knew, they might even give him an extra reward. There's no need to rush. The most we're doing now is breaking even. It'll get better slowly, Kong Xiaobo said. Kong Xiaobo and Lin Yi parked their car, and the resort security came over to help them put up reflective cones to prevent other cars from hitting them. Welcome to Tiandi Resort, the security said politely. Tiandi Resort? Lin Yi paused. He'd only mentioned the resort's name during the class reunion, and since there was a resort in town, he'd forgotten about the resort's name. Now it seemed that Zhou Tiandi owned it? Your boss is Zhou Tiandi? Lin Yi looked at the security and asked casually. Yes, sir. May I ask if you know our boss? The security didn't dare delay. He saw that Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo were both driving luxury cars here. They might actually know the boss. Oh, I do. Lin Yi nodded. Sir, should we contact the boss? The security asked politely. No need. Lin Yi waved his hand casually. He was only here for a class reunion, and there wasn't anything to do with Zhou Tiandi. Okay. The security didn't say anything else. After locking the car, Lin Yi, Kong Xiaobo, and the others walked to the resort's lobby. There were already some students inside, and when they saw Kong Xiaobo, they surrounded him warmly. There were both men and women. Lin Yi was the boss behind Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, and only a few people close to him knew about it. However, the fact that Kong Xiaobo was the vice president of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was known by everyone in class. After all, Kong Xiaobo had been attending the new product announcements recently, and he'd been interviewed many times by the media. Kong Xiaobo's fame had increased by several folds. Regarding this unknown person who suddenly rose from an unknown person to a general manager, some of the smarter girls couldn't help but beat their chest and stomp their feet. How could they have been so wrong before? Didn't they see Kong Xiaobo's potential? But after asking around, they found out that Kong Xiaobo already had a girlfriend. These people regretted not taking advantage of this opportunity. But now, the students who didn't get into university started thinking, if they could build a good relationship with Kong Xiaobo, it wouldn't be a problem for them to get a position in the medical company, at least for the sake of their old classmate. They didn't need to be in charge of a department or manager. Normal staff would do. After all, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was a company with a very good future. Being able to work in it was already very good. Lin Yi patted Kong Xiaobo's shoulder and led Meng Yao and Yushu to the sofa in the corner. He wasn't very familiar with his classmates, and in this kind of situation, they were all looking for Kong Xiaobo, so he was even more quiet. A while later, Pinliang and Xiaofu arrived as well. The two of them were naturally the targets of flattery from the other students. Pinliang's family had quite a few businesses, and the students who'd lost their jobs after graduation wanted to make a living from Pinliang's company. Liang Bro and the class monitor discussed and decided to organize this event together. Originally, the class monitor said that everyone's expenses would be split, and if it wasn't enough, we'd have to use the rest of the class fees as a supplement. But Liang Bro said that he'll be paying for this event. Everyone, eat and drink to your heart's content. Gao Xiaofu saw that almost everyone had arrived, so he announced to everyone. Chapter 1594. Chapter 1593. Zhong Pingliang's toast, that's great. Everyone cheered when they heard that someone was treating them. Although most of the students were from wealthy families, they were happy to be able to save a few hundred RMB in one go. 7 asterisk. Liang Bro has prepared a sumptuous feast for everyone tonight. Let's go to the dining hall, Xiaofu said. It was almost dinner time, and everyone was hungry. After hearing Xiaofu's words, everyone stood up happily and walked towards the dining hall. Lin Yi frowned. He was curious about Zhong Pingliang's behavior. This guy had been quiet for a while. Why was he so active again? Besides, he had no hope of pursuing Meng Yao anymore. He knew that. Why was he spending money to treat them? Did he have too much money and nowhere to spend it? It seemed like Zhong Pingliang's family was rich. Lin Yi was worried about the lack of funds. Since this guy was so rich, he would have to go to his father, Zhong Fubai, to get some money. However, Xiaofu didn't mention Meng Yao when he was talking, and he didn't even look at Lin Yi. This made Lin Yi even more confused. Could it be that they only wanted to treat them and nothing else? Lin Yi, Mingyao, and Yushu stood up as well. Although they didn't like Zhong Pingliang, they still had to eat. Mingyao was sitting in the corner earlier, and no one dared to approach her. But now that she was walking towards the dining hall, many girls who didn't get into university went up to her. It couldn't be helped. Sometimes, reality was just like that. If Mingyao could help them get a job in one of Pengzhan Industries' subsidiary companies, that would be the best thing that could happen to them. In their eyes, going to university was just for a good job. If they could get into Pengzhan Industries through Mengyao's connections, it would be like reaching the heavens in one step. The miss may have a cold personality, but Linny knew that she was the type of person who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. They had been classmates for a long time after all. No matter how good their relationship was, Mingyao still cared about their friendship. Mingyao took out her phone and recorded down the names and phone numbers of those who came to her. She was going to send them to Faubert when the time came, so that Faubert could give them a chance to try. As for whether or not they could do their jobs well, that would depend on themselves. Mingyao wasn't a philanthropist, and this was all she could do to help them. It was the same for Kong Xiaobo. Most of them agreed to give them a chance, but if they couldn't pass the internship, there was nothing they could do. On the web LVS. Even so, everyone was already very happy. One had to know that if one wanted to work in such a big group, they either had a good diploma or a good work experience. It was already very difficult for these high school graduates who didn't have either to get a chance. There were more than 30 people at this reunion, and they were divided into 2 tables. The banquet was quite sumptuous, and Pinliang didn't lack money. He ordered all kinds of delicacies. They were all classmates, so they didn't need to be reserved. After Pinliang raised his glass and said, "Everyone, don't be shy. Eat and drink to your heart's content." After that, he didn't say anything else. Everyone started to move and toasted each other. The college entrance exam was over, and it didn't matter if they got into college or not. They were all very happy. Needless to say, those who got into college, and those who didn't got into college got a job from Kong Xiaobo, Mingyao, and Pinliang. As far as they were concerned, even if one job wasn't good enough, they could always ask for help from others. There were 3 jobs, and there would always be one that suited them. So these students who were worried about their future were even more excited now. "Shield bro, this crab is delicious. Try it." Yushu gave a crab to Lin Yi. "Shield bro, this beef is delicious. Try it." Yushu gave a piece of beef to Lin Yi. "Shield bro, this pastry is delicious. Try it." Yushu gave a piece of beef to Lin Yi. And so, the food on Lin Yi's plate became a small mountain in a short while. No one was envious of Lin Yi's luck with women. On one hand, Yushu was someone they couldn't reach, and on the other hand, Yushu's strong brother wasn't someone they could handle. Some people speculated that Yushu's brother would come and beat up Lin Yi if he knew that her sister had a boyfriend. What they didn't know was that Chen Yutian was burning incense in the hospital every day, praying for his sister to marry Lin Yi. If that happened, House Chen would be rich. "Lin Yi, let me give you a toast." Suddenly, after 3 rounds of drinking, Pinliang stood up with his glass and said to Lin Yi. The noisy banquet immediately quieted down, and everyone looked at Pinliang strangely. Everyone knew that Pinliang and Lin Yi didn't get along. Ever since Lin Yi transferred schools, the two had a deep conflict. Although Lin Yi won over Pinliang later, Pinliang was still angry. So Pinliang's toast was a little strange. Lin Yi looked at Pinliang suspiciously as well, not knowing what he was up to. "Xiaofu, pour a glass for Lin Yi." Pinliang didn't care about everyone's gazes and ordered Xiaofu. "Yes." Xiaofu picked up a bottle of wine and opened it himself, raising it respectfully in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi frowned slightly, but he couldn't reject it in front of everyone. They were classmates after all, and if he didn't accept it now, everyone would think that Lin Yi was a narrow-minded person. Although Lin Yi didn't care, he didn't want to ruin everyone's mood. Lin Yi smiled and raised his glass, letting Xiaofu pour for him. He smiled faintly. "Pinliang, why are you giving me a toast all of a sudden?" "Lin Yi, we had some conflicts before, but now that we've graduated, we're classmates. Let's forget about it." Pinliang said sincerely, "We'll be good classmates from now on, and it'll be hard for us to meet again after graduation." The conflicts in the past don't mean anything anymore. It's all in this glass of wine. Oh. Linny looked at Pinliang's sincere face, and his suspicions grew even stronger. He didn't believe that Pinliang was being so nice. Linny had just fought with Zhang Naipeo, and he could see how much Pinliang hated Lin Yi just by looking at Naipeo. How could it be resolved just like that? Could it be that because Zhang Naipeo was crippled, Pinliang felt that he couldn't do anything to Lin Yi anymore, so he compromised? But it didn't seem like it. Chapter 1595. Everyone drinks from Lin Yi's perspective. Pinliang used to be a brainless student, but he'd disappeared for a while until Zhang Naipeo showed up. Lin Yi realized that Pinliang had been hiding this whole time. This guy wasn't like what he looked like on the surface. He'd actually sent Zhang Naipeo up the mountain to learn martial arts, and that meant that he was determined to deal with Lin Yi. So it was a joke to say that he'd defused the situation now. When Xiaofu was pouring the wine, the jade on Lin Yi's chest sent out a weak warning signal. This made Lin Yi feel that there was a trap here. But this weak signal also indicated that there would be some danger, but it wouldn't be too big. Otherwise, the jade's warning wouldn't be so weak. Lin Yi raised the glass and sniffed. A strong smell of alcohol assaulted his nostrils. The alcohol content of this wine was definitely much higher than the white wine they'd been drinking. Lin Yi looked at the bottle in Xiaofu's hand again. It was no different from the wine they'd been drinking. Lin Yi understood immediately. Pinliang might really be at his wit's end, so he decided to use a friendly method to trip Lin Yi up, trying to get him drunk with a high alcohol content white wine. His goal was clear as well. He wanted Lin Yi to make a fool of himself. As for whether or not there was something wrong with the wine, Lin Yi hadn't considered it. With Lin Yi's medical skills, there was nothing special about the wine other than the high alcohol content. It was Pinliang's idea to change the alcohol in the bottle to something with a high alcohol content. Zhang Naipeo had said that the medicine was colorless, odorless, and odorless. Masters under Earth class wouldn't be able to detect it, but Pinliang was still worried that Lin Yi would get suspicious, so he asked Xiaofu to change the low alcohol content white wine to a high alcohol content white wine. As far as Pinliang was concerned, Lin Yi wasn't an idiot. If he toasted him for no reason, Lin Yi would definitely be suspicious and even refuse. But if he did something to the wine and made Lin Yi think that he was trying to set him up, then Lin Yi might actually believe him. One had to admit that Pinliang's intelligence was on a whole different level compared to before. He had the ability to think in reverse. St. Hall 7 asterisk. And so, Pinliang really did get what he wanted. It wasn't that Lin Yi was careless, but the medicine was provided by an ancient sect. No matter how good Lin Yi was, his medical skills were only at the top of the common world. In the common world, he could still be called a miracle doctor, but in the hidden world, even someone like Yao Wang could compete with Lin Yi. And so Lin Yi didn't notice anything else in the wine. He raised his glass and said, "If that's the case, then I'll drink this." St. Hall. Great. Pinliang laughed and raised his glass as well, drinking it in front of Lin Yi. "I say, Pinliang, I saw that the wine in your glass was half a glass, wasn't it? That's not nice, is it?" Lin Yi said faintly, not drinking the wine. "Ah." Pinliang paused. He really didn't notice whether his glass was half or full. "Then, I'll drink another?" He was in a hurry to get Lin Yi to drink the drugged wine, so he was in a hurry. He would rather drink another glass himself. In fact, his glass was full before, and Lin Yi was just teasing him. Lin Yi couldn't drink such a high alcohol content wine himself, and let Pinliang take advantage of it, could he? Lin Yi was never one to let others take advantage of him, so Lin Yi planned to let Pinliang have a taste of high alcohol content wine. If they were to get drunk, they'd get drunk together. Besides, Lin Yi wouldn't get drunk at all. This level of alcohol content was worlds apart from old Lin's wine. "Alright Fu, fill it up for Pinliang. I can tell that Pinliang is a straightforward person," Lin Yi said. Xiaofu was holding the drugged wine in his hand. He was waiting for Lin Yi to finish before pouring another glass for Lin Yi. Who would have thought that Lin Yi would ask him to pour for Pinliang? Pinliang, on the other hand, was stunned. What should he do? He couldn't ask Xiaofu to change the bar now, could he? That would be too obvious. Wouldn't it be the same as admitting that he had drugged Lin Yi's wine? Xiaofu held the bottle in his hand, unable to back down. Pinliang gritted his teeth. There must be prostitutes in this resort. After he was done drinking, he'd just have to find a prostitute to take care of it. That wouldn't be a problem. At that thought, Pinliang said, Fu, what are you waiting for? Fill it up. Ah, okay. Xiaofu nodded and poured the wine for Pinliang. Just when he thought that everything was fine, Lin Yi spoke up again. Fu, we've had some conflicts in the past, right? Since this is the time, you should have a cup too. 1 cup of wine, and we'll forget about the grudge. Xiaofu was helpless, but seeing that Pinliang was pouring the wine, he had no reason to refuse. He had no choice but to pour himself another glass. It was impossible to change the bottle under the watchful eyes of the crowd. And so, the 3 of them raised their glasses, and with a smile, they were all poisoned. Fortunately, the effects of the drug had a time limit. When it didn't take effect, nothing happened. He was no different from a normal person. So Pinliang forced a smile and ate with everyone. To be honest, a glass of high alcohol content was nothing to someone like Pinliang, whose family owned a nightclub. He started drinking in middle school, so he wouldn't get drunk so easily. Xiaofu, on the other hand, was his usual drinking partner, so he didn't get drunk either. But what they were worried about now was, what should they do about the poison? They had to find a way to vent it. They had a plan later. They had to watch Lin Yi flirt with Meng Yao and ruin Lin Yi's reputation. The banquet was over, and Pinliang distributed the room cards to the students. We've just finished eating, and everyone drank quite a bit. Go back to your rooms and rest. We'll gather at the resort's lobby at 9. I've booked the entertainment room, and we'll all go have some fun. Pinliang said. Fu and I can't hold our liquor, so we'll be going first. No problem. The group took their room cards and went back to their rooms. Lin Yi's room card, however, was for a 3-person suite with Meng Yao and Yushu. What was Pinliang trying to do by putting him with Meng Yao and Yushu? Lin Yi was a little surprised. It was normal for guys to share a room with guys, and girls to share a room with girls. What was Pinliang trying to do? But Pinliang and Xiaofu were already far away. Chapter 1596. Chapter 1595. Bad idea. Lin Yi didn't ask any questions, and went back to his room with Meng Yao and Yushu. They lived under the same roof back at home, after all, so it wouldn't be awkward to sleep in the same room. Liang bro, didn't we say we'd find a reason to send Yushu away? Why aren't you doing it? Xiaofu asked on the way back to his room. We don't have time, you idiot. We're both drugged, and it's about to act up. We need to get back to our rooms, and find a lady to take care of it. Otherwise, we won't have time to catch Lin Yi in the act. Pinliang said. Yeah, you're right. Xiaofu nodded. But Pao said that the drug's too strong, and even if Yushu's willing, Meng Yao's definitely not. When Lin Yi and Xiaofu do it together, haha. Let's take a picture together, it'll be fun. That's right, Xiaofu's gotten smarter recently. Pinliang nodded. On the way back to his room, Lin Yi felt that something wasn't right. His body was starting to heat up. With Lin Yi's medical skills, he could tell that this wasn't a sign of him drinking too much, but it was like he'd been drugged with some sort of aphrodisiac. A normal person wouldn't be able to make such a precise judgment, but Lin Yi didn't know how he'd been poisoned, but he knew the symptoms after being poisoned like the back of his hand. Not good. Lin Yi sighed inwardly. He'd been careless, and there had to be something in that glass of wine. The only thing Lin Yi could think of was that glass of wine, but Lin Yi had purposely checked the quality of the wine. There shouldn't be any drugs in it, and Lin Yi was worried that he'd let Pinliang and Xiaofu drink a glass each. That was why Lin Yi had dared to drink it. He didn't think that these two would risk being poisoned just to let him drink it. What was their goal then? Looking at Meng Yao and Yushu beside him, Lin Yi could roughly guess Pinliang's plan. He probably wanted Meng Yao or Yushu to have sex with him, so he could ruin his or Meng Yao's reputation. This kind of trick seemed very ordinary, but if it was done properly, it could produce unexpected results. As for Shu, he was confident that she wouldn't react if he pushed her down, but the miss? It was hard to say. Pinliang might have figured this out, and that was why he came up with this plan. If the miss resisted, Pinliang could record the scene and announce that Lin Yi was a rapist. Even if Meng Yao denied it, Lin Yi's reputation would be greatly affected. Pinliang couldn't do anything to Lin Yi with Zhang Naipeo, and since there was nothing else he could do, It wasn't a bad idea to annoy Lin Yi. Most importantly, everyone was drunk, and he could deny that he was the one who did it, pushing all the blame away. What a smart guy. But Lin Yi was a medical expert, and he didn't mind the aphrodisiac. He could cure himself with acupuncture, but Pin Liang and Gao Xiaofu, how were they going to deal with it? Lin Yi suddenly thought of this problem, and a weird smile appeared on his face. He took out his phone and called Zhou Ruoming. Hayashi Lin, what can I do for you? Zhou Ruoming was sleeping at home when he heard his phone ringing. He didn't want to pick it up, and was about to hang it up when he saw Lin Yi's name on the caller ID. It scared him awake, and he quickly picked up the phone. He was a little scared. If he had hung up the phone, he and the Zhou family would have been in trouble. Tiandi Resort is your family's property, right? Lin Yi asked. Templar Web. Yes. What can I do for you, Hayashi Lin? Zhou Ruoming was startled. Could it be that the general manager of Tiandi Resort offended Lin Yi? Zhou Ruoming wanted to curse. What trouble? I can't even wait to serve Lin Yi. And you still want to cause trouble for me? Oh, it's nothing. Do you have prostitutes here? Lin Yi asked. Yes. Hayashi Lin needs them. Zhou Ruoming relaxed when he heard that no one offended Lin Yi. Thank goodness nothing happened. Oh, call the manager here. Tell him that there's no prostitutes tonight. Don't let them in, even if they call from outside. Lin Yi said to Zhou Ruoming. I mean, can you do it seriously? Don't worry, Hayashi Lin. I'll do it now. Although Zhou Ruoming didn't know what Lin Yi meant, he didn't need to know. He would do whatever Lin Yi asked him to do. As long as he made Lin Yi happy, everything would be fine. After hanging up the phone, Zhou Ruoming called the manager of the resort urgently and told him what Lin Yi meant. In the end, he threatened. I tell you, if you do it well, I will reward you. If you mess it up, I won't forgive you. It's not that simple. If anything happens to me, I will drag you to hell with me. The manager's heart almost dropped out of his chest when he heard Ruoming's words. He had the backing of House Zhou, and they were all gangsters. If that was the case, then he'd have to get this done. Ruoming didn't want to let House Zhou off the hook. Thus, the manager of the resort had his men gather all the prostitutes together and lock them in the conference room, afraid that they would take private jobs. Then, he ordered all the security guards to close the door of the resort and not receive any guests. The purpose was to prevent a prostitute from sneaking in. Speaking of which, this reason was a little funny, but the resort's experience was carried out meticulously. It was a little confusing. Pin Liang and Xiaofu went back to their room and called the service desk, asking them to send 2 girls up. We're a legitimate resort. We don't do this kind of illegal business. Please forgive us, sir. Pin Liang and Xiaofu said. We're a legitimate resort. We don't do such illegal business. Fuck. Zhong Pingliang was about to explode. Who were they trying to fool? When he first chose this resort as the gathering place, it was also because he had played here before. At that time, he had found a few prostitutes. So, Zhong Pingliang thought that the person at the front desk was new. He said, get your lobby manager to call me. What do we do, Liang bro? Is there really no such business here? What should we do? Gao Xiaofu panicked when he heard that. Don't worry, I know their lobby manager. Heibao bro and I used to play here often. Zhong Pingliang said, missing Heibao bro. Sigh, I wonder how Heibao bro is doing. Chapter 1597. Yeah, we should go visit Heibao bro one day. Xiaofu nodded sadly. Heibao bro is a loyal follower of House Zhong. We can't let him down. Pin Liang said that, but he was thinking that Heibao was still useful to them. Truth be told, Heibao's crimes weren't that serious, and he would one day be released from prison. He'd still be useful then. Heibao's identity as the disciple of the Everyday and Everyday sect was enough to make Naipeo an inner disciple. This was a power that couldn't be underestimated. Heibao's strength wasn't much, but his connections were. And so Pinliang thought that it'd be easier for him to talk to the Everyday and Everyday sect's leader in the future. Then we'll go visit him in a few days? Xiaofu asked. Sure, but we need to solve the problem in front of us first. Pinliang's mouth was dry, and his body was burning up. It was unbearable. Fortunately, it wasn't long before the manager called. Pinliang introduced himself to the manager. The manager knew Pinliang, and knew that he was the one paying for this event. He was very polite to Pinliang. Young Master Zhang, may I know why you're looking for me? Manager Zhang, hurry up and get me 2 girls, pretty ones. We'll talk about the rest later. Pinliang was burning with lust. He didn't want to waste time with the manager. Ah, young Master Zhang, that's not easy. Our resort doesn't provide this kind of service right now. Manager Zhang remembered Master Ming's orders. He wouldn't dare get Pinliang any girls. Bullshit. My family runs a nightclub too, of course I know that. I still have them the last time I came, hurry up. Cut the crap. Pinliang panicked after hearing the manager's words. Young Master Zhang, we really don't have them. The CEO emphasized this before, and we're starting to shift our business to legitimate businesses. We don't provide this kind of service anymore. Manager Zhang didn't want to offend Pinliang. After all, Pinliang was a big customer here, and he was in the same line of work as Fabai. Then get me 2 girls from outside, hurry up. Pinliang couldn't take it anymore. This. Young Master Zhang. I'm sorry, we don't have any contact information. Why don't you go out and look for it yourself? Manager Zhang said euphemistically. Since he couldn't get the miss into the resort, he could only ask Pinliang to move out of the resort. If he went out, he'd have nothing to do with the resort. But Pinliang wasn't in the mood to look for it. He couldn't wait any longer, and he was unfamiliar with this place. Where was he going to find it? Even if he found 2 from his own nightclub, it would take more than an hour of driving. It would be too late. Pinliang was filled with hatred. Was there something wrong with this resort? He even turned to the legitimate industry. Of all times, it had to turn now. What about him and Gao Xiaofu? Damn it. I'm never coming to this place again. Pinliang hung up the phone angrily, but there was nothing he could do. Brother Liang, what should we do? I can't take it anymore. Gao Xiaofu also heard the contents of the phone call, and was sweating profusely. What else can we do? I'll go to the washroom and masturbate myself. Pinliang was at his wit's end. He didn't know if he could release the effects of the drug. Zhang Naipeo didn't say anything. Ah. Gao Xiaofu wasn't too willing, but Liang Bro had already masturbated. He had no choice but to follow along. Lin Yi, Mingyao, and Yushu entered the room. Mingyao was just about to ask Lin Yi something. What was the meaning of the call to Zhou, but Lin Yi's face was completely red. His forehead was covered in sweat, and he looked like a crab that had just been fished out of the pot. Lin Yi, what's wrong? What happened to you? Are you feeling unwell? Mingyao asked immediately. Oh, Shield Bro seems to have been cooked, Yushu said, shocked. Pinliang, someone put aphrodisiac in the wine. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't mean to lie to Mingyao and Yushu. There was no point in hiding something like this. Ah. Mingyao jumped. Then what should we do? Shield Bro, are you feeling unwell? Do you need Shu's help? Yushu asked. Lin Yi took in a deep breath. He almost couldn't hold it in. Wasn't Yushu forcing him to do something he shouldn't do at a time like this? Fortunately, he was an assassin who had gone through strict training. His willpower wasn't something a normal person could compare to. Otherwise, he might have fallen for Shu's words. Seeing Lin Yi's red eyes, Mingyao knew that Yushu was in trouble. She glared at her. Shu, what are you talking about? I won't help you if Lin Yi pushes you onto the bed. But Shu's not ready yet. Do you want it now? Yushu didn't seem to understand Mingyao's words at all. Or did she misunderstand? Yao Yao, take her to the side to play. Don't worry about me. Lin Yi didn't know what to do. Was Yushu forcing him to do something wrong? Lin Yi tried to ignore Yushu as he used his pure energy to suppress the drug in his body. He then took out a box of needles from his pocket. Using needles to force out the poison was Lin Yi's forte. As long as he could endure it for a while, he would be fine. Shu. Mingyao saw Lin Yi's pain. She glared at Yushu and pulled her into the room. Shu, on the other hand, was a little worried. Yao Yao, I heard that it's not easy to cure someone who's poisoned by aphrodisiac. Will Shield Bro be okay? Maybe. I'll take the loss and help him, Yushu said. How are you going to help him? Mingyao was worried about Lin Yi, but she had no choice. She couldn't sacrifice herself, could she? So she quickly asked after Shu said it. You can use your hands, or something else. Yushu said with her chest puffed up. Pfft. Mingyao almost vomited blood. What kind of idea was that? If it really doesn't work, I'll sacrifice myself. I've decided to be Shield Bro's small wife anyway. Yushu didn't care about Mingyao's reaction and continued. Mingyao was speechless. But in her heart, Yushu's words stirred up an inexplicable ripple. She didn't know what to feel. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for me at Chidian. Your support is my greatest motivation. Target =_blank. Chapter 1598. Chapter 1597. Inner struggle. If Shu wasn't here, would Linny be with her if he couldn't handle it? Mingyao suddenly had a faint anticipation in her heart, but at the same time, she felt that her thoughts were too ridiculous. She didn't even like him, and he liked Tang Yin? But did he really not like her? Yao Yao, what's wrong? Yushu looked at the weird expression on Mingyao's face and asked curiously. Holy Hall, no. Nothing. Mingyao shook her head, dispelling her unrealistic thoughts. Then, should I go help? Yushu asked impatiently. Don't cause trouble. Linny said that he has a solution. Mingyao didn't know why, but she didn't want Yushu to go over. Linny was stabbing the acupuncture points all over his body, but Linny heard the conversation between Mingyao and Yushu very clearly. Linny smiled bitterly, trying his best not to think about those evil thoughts. Towards Yao Yao and Shu, Linny naturally liked them. Humans weren't plants. How could they be emotionless? Plus, they'd lived together for so long, and they had a strange feeling for each other. Although Tang Yin had more or less acquiesced to the Miss and Shu's existence, Linny really couldn't tell what they were thinking. The Miss's feelings seemed to be right, but they weren't. Website. Under Yushu's silly passion, it was hard to tell what was real and what was fake. Plus, Linny already had Tang Yin and Xiao Xiao. If something really happened with the Miss or Shu here, Linny wouldn't be able to get past himself. Even if he wanted to do it, Linny would ask for Tang Yin's opinion first. This was the most basic respect. Linny couldn't do whatever he wanted just because of Tang Yin's connivance. However, Linny soon discovered that the method of detoxification with silver needles didn't seem to have any effect on him. His body temperature was still rising. The drug's effects seemed to have taken effect, but Linny didn't show any signs of reversing. His heart grew stronger and stronger, causing Lin Yi's expression to become even more ferocious and terrifying. However, Lin Yi still maintained his rationality. He sat cross-legged on the ground and asked Jiao Yazi anxiously, Jiao Lao, what should I do now? The situation seems to be very serious. Why don't you try using your Jinqi to dissolve it? Jiao Yazi thought for a moment and said, your energy is an all-purpose energy. Can you see if you can convert this energy to reduce the medicinal effects in your body? All right. Lin Yi nodded and entered the space of the jade pendant. He activated the art of dragon mastery and used the energy in the space to neutralize the aphrodisiac poison in his body. However, what surprised Lin Yi was that it seemed to have some effect. However, the aphrodisiac's effects seemed to be extremely overbearing. Every bit of it he refined required a large amount of energy to enter his body. However, this was still better than nothing. Lin Yi had time. In another room of the resort, Zhong Pingliang and Gao Xiaofu were panting and sweating from exhaustion. Liang bro, I can't do it either. My arm is about to break. Gao Xiaofu said with a bitter face. Pao's medicine is a little too overbearing, isn't it? Who said it wasn't? My arm is about to break too, but we need to work harder. Think about Lin Yi. We need to hurry or it'll be meaningless if we're late. Zhong Pingliang said. Let's sing a song, let's work harder. Sing? Okay. What song? Gao Xiaofu asked. Weibo, sing with me 1 2 3 ready. Ready. Calabash Brothers. Calabash Brothers. Zhong Pingliang sang loudly. And so, they started singing in the washroom. And the two were full of energy. Lin Yi's energy and the medicine clashed, and under the pain, white steam came out of his forehead. It was so hot that Lin Yi was smoking. Yao Yao, it's bad, Shield Bro's on fire. Yushu saw the white steam coming out of Lin Yi's forehead and screamed. Ah. Then. What should we do? Mingyao was also shocked. Should we turn the air conditioner to the max? Yushu quickly found the remote control and turned the air conditioner to the max. But even with the air conditioner turned on, the steam on Lin Yi's forehead didn't decrease at all. It was still coming out of his forehead. Why don't we find 2 fans and fan him? It'll cool him down a little? Yushu said after seeing that the air conditioner wasn't working. Okay. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was in a desperate situation. There were plantain fans in the hotel room, and she and Yushu each took a fan and started fanning Lin Yi's left and right sides. He saw what Meng Yao and Yushu were doing, but it didn't have much effect. However, Lin Yi didn't have the energy to talk anymore. He was gritting his teeth and using his qi to neutralize the medicine in his heart. Energy gathered around Lin Yi's body, rushing into his body at an unbelievable speed. However, as it fought against the effects of the drug, the energy dissipated into nothingness. This speed of energy absorption made Lin Yi speechless. Even when he broke through, he didn't need this much energy, did he? But neutralizing this medicine did require this much energy. It was unbelievable to Lin Yi, but at the same time, he was shocked. Where did this Zhong Pingliang get such a strong medicine? Did Zhang Naipeo give it to him? Now that he thought about it, it wasn't impossible. Elder Jiao, this medicine is too strong. I can't take it anymore. Lin Yi said bitterly as he absorbed the energy, trying to dissolve the medicine in his body. Oh, then you do it. Jiao Lao said. Do it. How do I do it? Lin Yi asked. 5 against 1. Jiao Lao said. This medicine looks strong, but since your qi can neutralize it, it means that you don't need to have sex with someone to neutralize it. You can do it with your hands, but judging from how strong the medicine is, it'll take at least an hour or 2. Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Running to the washroom to take a 2-hour flight? What kind of joke was that? It'd be fine if Meng Yao and Yushu weren't here. But they were here. He'd be a laughingstock if he went. What else? Lin Yi asked helplessly. Then you'll have to continue neutralizing it. Jiao Yazi said. With your current strength and the endless energy in the jade space, you can neutralize it, but it'll take some time. As long as I can neutralize it. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and decided to continue neutralizing it. An hour later, Pinliang and Xiaofu finally solved the problem. Both of them were so tired that they almost collapsed from exhaustion. Currently, both of them couldn't even lift their arms. Chapter 1599. Chapter 1598. Watching a good show, Liang bro, what kind of medicine is this? Why is it so strong? If only I could be as brave as today. Xiaofu said. 7 asterisk. Who knows? I'm so tired today. My kidneys aren't good to begin with. This is a trap. Pinliang said helplessly. That Lin Yi sure is cunning. He made us drink too. But we have to go check on Lin Yi's side right now. We don't know if he succeeded. Okay. Xiaofu put the camera on his back, but the weight of the camera almost collapsed his shoulder. The two quickly left the room. It was almost 9 at night. Pinliang's heart was filled with regret. If they went now, Lin Yi might have already succeeded. Without Meng Yao's resistance, it would be meaningless. At that thought, Pinliang's evil thoughts rose. He walked into the lobby of the resort and saw that most of his classmates had rested and were waiting for Pinliang and Xiaofu in the lobby. Sorry for the wait. Now I'll treat you all to a good show, Pinliang said to the students in the lobby. Everyone come with me. Pinliang was going to call everyone to see Lin Yi. Even if Lin Yi succeeded after some hesitation, wouldn't it be embarrassing to be seen by everyone? Plus, Meng Yao wouldn't be able to face the world anymore. However, Pinliang thought to himself, if he couldn't get what he couldn't get, then no one else could. If he couldn't get Meng Yao, then he'd destroy her reputation. The students didn't know what kind of show Pinliang was going to treat them to, but they didn't think much about it. They all followed Pinliang to Lin Yi's room. As far as they were concerned, Pinliang was the one who arranged this event. Naturally, they would listen to him. When they reached Lin Yi's room, Pinliang couldn't wait any longer. He slammed into Lin Yi's door. Time was of the essence, and he did not want to waste a single second. With a bang, Lin Yi's door flew open, but it wasn't as hard as Pinliang had imagined. Lin Yi's door wasn't locked at all. Lin Yi went back to his room to train against the poison, and Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, were busy helping Lin Yi dissipate the heat. Neither of them cared if the door was locked or not. Holy Church, and so tragically, Zhong Pingliang fell headfirst into the room, falling flat on his face due to inertia. Everyone, please look. Xiaofu didn't have time to worry about Pinliang. He was afraid that Lin Yi would come up with a countermeasure, so he quickly asked the students to look into the room. Hence, the scene in the room appeared before everyone's eyes. Mingyao and Yushu, one on the left and one on the right, were fanning Lin Yi. What is this? A student asked curiously after taking a look. Is there something wrong with you? You want us to look at this? Xiaobo had tagged along as well, and was the first to object. Xiaofu was an idiot, wasn't he? Lin Yi was clearly enjoying the fanning of two beauties, and Pinliang was interrupting him. Yeah, what's there to see? Although the students were a little envious of Lin Yi, they didn't think that it was a drama. Wasn't it just fanning? What was there to see? Xiaofu was dumbfounded as well. What was going on? Wasn't Lin Yi supposed to push Mingyao and Yushu down? Why were the three of them fanning themselves, all neatly dressed? Pinliang got up from the ground, confused as well. No way. Lin Yi was fine? He looked around the room suspiciously, but it didn't seem like anything had happened. Plus, he was sure that if Lin Yi really had something going on with Mingyao and Yushu, it wouldn't have ended so quickly. He even had his clothes on and was fanning himself. After all, he and Xiaofu used their hands for a long time. How could Lin Yi be so fast? Actually, I wanted to show everyone what a plantain fan is. This plantain fan is the specialty of this resort. Xiaofu said. I just wanted to show everyone how to use this plantain fan. Back then, Flaming Mountain was destroyed with this fan. Boring. Boring. The students didn't say much since this event was sponsored by Pinliang, but they still turned around and left without any interest. Are you too crazy? Shield Bro is sleeping, he's resting. Why are you guys making a ruckus? Looking at the plantain fan. Is your mom the Iron Fan Princess? Yushu knew what was going on when she saw Pinliang and Xiaofu rush in. They were the ones who gave Lin Yi the aphrodisiac, so they came here to catch them in the act. Fortunately, Lin Yi was strong enough to neutralize the drug's effects. Otherwise, he would have been seen naked by these people. I see. Then we won't disturb you anymore. We'll be leaving first. Sorry, we just wanted to look at the plantain fan. Xiaofu knew that Yushu wasn't someone to be messed with, and Lin Yi was fine. If Lin Yi went crazy, he and Pinliang would be in trouble. Lin Yi even dared to beat up Zhang Naipeo. The two had no choice but to turn around and leave with their tails between their legs. Lin Yi kept his eyes closed and didn't say a word. Everyone thought that Lin Yi was asleep, but in fact Lin Yi wasn't asleep, he was fighting against the drug. Although Lin Yi heard Pinliang and Naipeo's voices, he ignored them. The drug in his body was getting lesser and lesser, which made Lin Yi heave a sigh of relief. It seemed that his hard work wasn't in vain, and there were still results. Finally, as time passed, the drug in Lin Yi's body was getting lesser and lesser. Even if Lin Yi didn't use his qi to refine it, he could still resist it, but Lin Yi still decided to refine it all. After all, this aphrodisiac was different from normal. Who knew if there would be any side effects? Thus, Lin Yi continued to use his energy to refine the drug in his body, and finally, the drug was completely refined by Lin Yi. Phew! Just as Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief, the next moment, something unbelievable happened. The drug was refined, but the thing that refined the drug was the energy of the jade pendant space. After the drug was refined, it became the qi in Lin Yi's body. Before, there was the drug, but Lin Yi didn't notice it. But now that the drug was gone, the extra qi was a little obvious. Moreover, the qi formed by the drug wasn't just a little bit. Lin Yi felt like his meridians were about to explode. He was focused on refining the drug before, so he didn't notice this, but now it was too late. Chapter 1600. Breakthrough. Mystic Queen Peak. Lin Yi felt as if his body was about to explode with a boom. However, Lin Yi was pleasantly surprised after the momentary shock. He was too familiar with this feeling. It was the feeling of breaking through. Lin Yi felt the same every time he broke through. And it was the same this time as well. Lin Yi didn't think that refining the aphrodisiac in his body could help him break through. It was unbelievable. But Lin Yi thought about what happened to Lingshan, and he didn't think it was weird anymore. Perhaps Lingshan's breakthrough was because of this? In fact, Lingshan's breakthrough was completely different from Lin Yi's. Lingshan had been suppressing herself at that level for a long time, and suddenly, she was stimulated mentally and psychologically, and with the special nature of House Song's arts, she broke through. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was using his energy to refine the medicine, and because there was too much medicine in his body, Lin Yi had to keep refining it, and the qi formed after refining was gathered in Lin Yi's body, because the aphrodisiac was already in Lin Yi's body. So the qi that was refined was also in Lin Yi's body. This was different from Lin Yi directly absorbing the energy. Directly absorbing it, after a certain amount, it couldn't be absorbed anymore. Using the medicine to refine it, although the body couldn't absorb qi anymore, the qi that was refined in his body couldn't be exited. This was also why Lin Yi broke through, becoming a mystic late-phase peak. Fortunately, Lin Yi was different from Yutian and Lingshan. Lin Yi was training in the jade space, and he didn't have to worry about his clothes exploding and being seen by Mingyao and Yushu. Pinliang, you and your men really are my lucky stars, helping me break through 2 levels in a row. Should I thank you? Or should I hate you? Lin Yi muttered to himself, shaking his head with a bitter smile. Pinliang wanted to harm him, but he ended up helping him instead. Lin Yi was just worrying about not being able to break through, but he broke through just like that. Jiao Lao, I broke through just like that. Lin Yi asked with a bitter smile. Templar LVS. Yes, I broke through. Haven't you always wanted to break through? Didn't you get what you wanted? Jiao Yazi smiled lightly. But, what is this? Will I be able to use this method to break through in the future? This was the question that Lin Yi was most concerned about. Lin Yi roughly understood the principle of breakthrough, so Lin Yi was thinking whether he could use the same method to break through in the future. Every time you make a breakthrough, it's unimaginable. Jiao Yazi didn't know what to say. I've never heard of many of your breakthrough methods. Who knows if you can do it again next time? In other words, it's possible to try? Lin Yi asked in surprise. Holy Church, I didn't say that. Jiao Yazi shook his head. As far as I know, Mystic to Earth class is a hurdle. Some people can't cross this hurdle their entire lives, stuck at the peak late phase of Mystic class. So, if the breakthrough method is the same, then I'm afraid that all practitioners can easily break through this hurdle. The way to break through from Mystic to Earth class is different. Oh. Lin Yi frowned. So you're saying that it's not easy to break through from Mystic to Earth class? Yes. Jiao Yazi nodded. Look at the hidden houses. There are a lot of people at the peak late phase of Mystic class, but there aren't many Earth class masters. Some people have been stuck at the peak late phase of Mystic class for many years. If they could break through using normal methods, why would they still be stuck there? Isn't it hard to break through from Earth class to Sky class? Why is it so hard to break through from Mystic class to Earth class? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It's even harder, Jiao Yazi said. From Earth class to Sky class, not many people have been able to do it since ancient times. Sky class is still very far away. I wonder how I can reach Earth class right now. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. From the looks of it, this cultivation method of consuming pills and refining himself wasn't going to work anymore. How would I know? Jiao Yazi rolled his eyes. I can't understand any of your breakthrough methods. You should go and create your own. Lin Yi had no choice but to come back to reality from the jade space. Although he couldn't find a way to break through to Mystic class for now, Lin Yi was very satisfied with his progress. If he worked hard, it should be possible for him to break through to Earth class before the meeting of the noble houses. Shield bro, are you alright? Yushu was surprised and happy to see Lin Yi open his eyes. And I'm fine. Thank you guys. Lin Yi stood up and smiled. It's fine. This is what we should do. You've protected us for so long. It's time for us to do something for you, Yushu said. Even if we have to sacrifice ourselves, it's fine. Shu. Mingyao scolded Yushu. Yushu was talking nonsense again. Haha. Lin Yi smiled. Let's go. Didn't Pinliang say that we'll meet at 9? Let's go and see if there's anything fun. Shield bro, are you going to teach them a lesson? Yushu felt that Lin Yi was drugged. Teach them a lesson? Why teach them a lesson? Lin Yi smiled. I can't wait to thank them. Thank them? Yushu and Mingyao froze. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be able to break through. I'm already at the peak of late phase of mystic class. Lin Yi smiled. So, why would I teach them a lesson? Waha, are you serious? Shield bro, you're so strong. Yushu's eyes widened. You can break through like that? If we take the aphrodisiac every day, wouldn't we become sky class masters in no time? Lin Yi almost fainted. He smiled bitterly. It's just a coincidence. If I take the aphrodisiac every day, I don't know what's going to happen. That's right. Shu, don't come up with random ideas. Mengyao thought that it was impossible as well. If they could really break through by taking drugs, wouldn't there be masters everywhere? The three walked to the resort's lobby as they conversed. Pinliang, Xiaofu, and the other students had already returned to the lobby and were talking to each other. Pinliang and Xiaofu, on the other hand, saw Lin Yi, Mengyao, and Yushu walking over. Fear flashed across their eyes. If Lin Yi knew that they were behind this, would he do something to them? Isn't this Lin Yi? I'm just waiting for you. Pinliang sighed, putting on a smile as he walked over. We were all here just now. You guys were the only ones left. I was just thinking about looking for you, but you were sleeping. Pinliang came up with an excuse, saying that they had a group activity tonight and Lin Yi was absent, so they went looking for him. Chapter 1601. Oh, didn't you guys go to see the plantain fan? Lin Yi sneered as he asked indifferently. Haha, that's just a joke. Zhong Pingliang laughed. Lin Yi, since you're here, let's start the next step of the activity? Sure. Lin Yi said indifferently. But I don't know, can you still move your arm? It seems like you're feeling a little weak. Do you need me to help you treat it? You have to know, I'm a doctor too. I drank too much just now and my body was burning up, so I gave myself acupuncture and slept for a while. I'm fine now. Lin Yi didn't have the intention to punish Zhong Pingliang right now. After all, if he beat Zhong Pingliang up in front of so many classmates, the reunion wouldn't be able to continue. Pinliang, on the other hand, was harming Lin Yi, but benefiting him instead. This way, the hatred in Lin Yi's heart towards Zhong Pingliang lessened. A few mocking words were fine. Lin Yi really didn't put a small character like Zhong Pingliang in his eyes now. His subordinate, Zhang Naipeo, was Lin Yi's true rival. Zhong Pingliang heard Lin Yi's words and his face turned pale. Lin Yi's words were very clear. He knew that he was drugged, but he used acupuncture to solve it. And he also hinted that his arm was weak, so he must have guessed what he did before. This made Zhong Pingliang speechless. I don't need treatment, right? I have rheumatism, it's an old problem. Zhong Pingliang said awkwardly. Oh, Lin Yi smiled weirdly. I was the one who asked the girls here to go home on holiday. The conversation between Lin Yi and Zhong Pingliang seemed to be incoherent, but both of them knew what they were talking about. Zhong Pingliang heard Lin Yi's words. Only then did he understand why he couldn't find the girls before. So it was Lin Yi's doing. Pinliang suddenly remembered that Tiandi Resort was Zhou Tiandi's property, and that Zhou Ruoming was behaving like a grandson in front of Lin Yi. He immediately understood what was going on. Lin Yi had deliberately set him and Gao Xiaofu up. However, even so, he couldn't say a word of grievance. He could only swallow his grievances. Wasn't all of this caused by himself? Fortunately, nothing happened between Mengyao and Lin Yi. He didn't see anything unusual in the room, and Mengyao's gait was normal when she walked in, so he couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. However, Lin Yi admitted that he didn't do anything with Mengyao, which made Pinliang feel relieved. Although he was jealous that Mengyao couldn't be his girlfriend, he didn't want the goddess in his heart to be tainted by others unless he had no other choice. Since he couldn't mess with Lin Yi, he would just have to think of a way to get intimate with Mengyao. Pinliang, on the other hand, didn't expect Mengyao to like him. He understood now that Mengyao and Yushu had never liked him. Therefore, it was Pinliang's dream to take advantage of Mengyao. Since Lin Yi couldn't take advantage of Mengyao, Pinliang didn't mind taking advantage of her. Lin Yi's tolerance from before made Pinliang even more courageous. From what he could see, the reason why Lin Yi didn't attack him was probably because of Naipeo. Naipeo's meridians were all destroyed. However, the second level of the Chrysanthemum Treasured Codex had been unlocked. This was great news. Presumably, Lin Yi had also received this news. That was why Lin Yi did not retaliate even after he was drugged with an aphrodisiac. All he did was make a few sarcastic remarks. So you did it. Pinliang thought about it and started acting cocky again. But it's nothing, I'll just treat it as training. Don't you feel good about it? Oh right, I really have to thank you. Lin Yi smiled. Your follower Zhang Naipeo helped me break through to Mystic Late Phase, and the aphrodisiac you gave me helped me break through to Mystic Late Phase Peak. You guys are really my lucky stars. Pinliang paused. He didn't expect Lin Yi to break through again and become a Mystic Late Phase Peak, and it was all because of him. Pinliang regretted it a little. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have set him up. But on the surface, Pinliang didn't back down. Right, Pao told me to tell you. Thank you for crippling his arts and blowing up his meridians. The chrysanthemum arts he practices is something that can't be rebuilt without destruction. If he didn't become a cripple, he wouldn't be able to practice the second stage of the arts. Is that so? Lin Yi's heart was in turmoil. He thought that Naipeo was crippled, and even if he recovered, it wouldn't be this easy. He didn't think that he'd unintentionally helped him. What was this? Helping each other? They were even? Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh at the thought. Naipeo and Pinliang had helped him break through 2 levels, and he had helped Naipeo unlock the second stage of his arts. Looking at it like that, no one had the upper hand. Of course, Lin Yi had broken through 2 levels, so he had the upper hand. Pinliang saw the slight change in Lin Yi's face, and he was very pleased with himself. It seemed like he'd won a round, and it seemed like Lin Yi was still quite afraid of Naipeo. What he didn't know was that Lin Yi was looking at Naipeo in a different light, but he wasn't afraid of him at all. As for Pinliang, Lin Yi didn't need to cause him any trouble at all. Lin Yi understood now that Naipeo seemed to be living to avenge Pinliang. If he did anything to Pinliang now, the kid might really bring the elders of the Everyday and Everyday sect over to fight him. In these troubled times, Lin Yi had a lot of enemies, and he didn't have the power to go against the Everyday and Everyday sect. Letting Pinliang go for now wasn't a compromise, but a smart move. Pinliang laughed and ignored Lin Yi. He was ready to activate his second plan. Pinliang glanced at Xiaofu, indicating that he could speak now. Everyone's full now, and it's a long night without sleep. I suggest that we play a game together. I wonder if everyone supports this idea? Xiaofu represented Zhong Pingliang, and the suggestion to play a game was also Zhong Pingliang's idea. Alright, let's play a game then. Xiaofu's suggestion got everyone's approval. After all, they couldn't just sit in the lobby of the resort and chat, could they? What was the point of gathering like that? They might as well chat in the group chat. Chapter 1602. Alright, since everyone agrees, then I'll talk about the rules and how to play the game. Gao Xiaofu nodded and said, currently, we have graduated from high school and are heading to university. We are all adults, but many of our classmates have not tasted the taste of love. So for the sake of our future love, the game we are playing today is called Safe Kiss. Safe Kiss? Some students knew about this game and immediately cheered excitedly. Yes, it's Safe Kiss. I believe everyone has seen similar games in novels and TV dramas. Some variety shows often have such games too. Gao Xiaofu explained. It's 2 people kissing through a layer of plastic wrap or glass. This way, everyone can experience the exciting feeling of love without losing out to each other. What do you think? Okay. The boys were the first to agree. In fact, most of the boys had a goddess in their hearts. It was just that because of the college entrance examination, they didn't confess and didn't develop. But now that they had graduated, they didn't have to be so nervous about their studies anymore. Everyone's minds were more active. If they could kiss their favorite goddess, it would be a very refreshing thing. However, the girls were a little shy. After all, most girls were still very conservative. This kind of safe kiss game was really a little too bold. Gao Xiaofu naturally saw all of this, so he began to make a fuss again. This kind of safe kiss is often seen on variety shows on TV. Those celebrities even play with their fans. Look at that pure jade girl celebrity. What's her name? Didn't she play safe kiss with her fans before? This safe kiss is called safe kiss because it's very safe. It won't let anyone lose out to each other. Moreover, everyone drew lots to decide who would be the winner. It's absolutely fair and just. It had to be said that Gao Xiaofu was very good at making a fuss. Moreover, Everyone had more or less drunk a little. They were a little hot-headed. The girls also thought about it. Yes, it's just kissing through glass or plastic wrap. They won't lose out to each other. However, there were still some girls who were hesitant. This was because they already had some ambiguous feelings with some of the boys in their class. Although they didn't make their relationship clear, they had some feelings for each other. At this time, if he played a safe kiss with someone else, although it wasn't a big deal, it wouldn't be fun if the other party got jealous. Upon hearing the whispers of the people below, Gao Xiaofu was quick-witted and quickly said, "Write the girls' names as tags and let the boys draw lots. Between the boys who drew lots, they can also choose to exchange. If they are a couple, they can't steal each other's love, right?" Gao Xiaofu's words dispelled the last of the girls' doubts. If they could be swapped, then things would be much easier. Although the couple in the class didn't make it clear, everyone knew what was going on. No one would interfere. Wouldn't that make everyone uncomfortable? Moreover, both boys and girls are welcome. Therefore, under Gao Xiaofu's persuasion, most of the students agreed. Ming Yao, on the other hand, frowned. What kind of ridiculous game is this? I don't want to play. Shu, let's not participate. Don't Yao Yao. What if Shield Bro draws us? Yushu didn't want to give up this chance to have fun. Ming Yao wanted to reject it, but after hearing Yushu's words, she didn't know why, but she didn't want to reject it anymore. She hesitated, but didn't say anything against it. Pin Liang and Xiaofu started making paper slips, preparing to let everyone draw lots. When you're making Ming Yao's tag later, make a slip with a corner missing. That way, I'll be able to draw it. Pin Liang still hadn't given up on Ming Yao. He saw that Lin Yi wasn't able to take advantage of him, and now he was getting excited. He'd been holding it in for too long, and now he was ready to explode. Through his conversation with Lin Yi, it seemed like Lin Yi was quite wary of Zhang Naipeo's rebirth, and so he grew bolder. Plus, this was a group activity, and he was following the rules. Even if Lin Yi wasn't happy about it, he wouldn't do anything to him. If he did, people would think that he was a sore loser. Lin Yi was only one step away from Earth class, and his eyes and ears were sharper than before. Pin Liang had lowered his voice, but Lin Yi heard him clearly. This was the advantage of a practitioner, and it was also why a sky class like Bingtang could stand on top of a snowy mountain and control the whole situation. There were only 30 or so people here, and there were only a dozen or so girls, so it didn't take long for the lots to be drawn. Xiaofu placed the lot in a box and whispered to Pin Liang, "Liang bro, I put Ming Yao's tag on the corner of the box, and didn't tear off a corner. It'd be too obvious." Not bad, you're quite smart." Pin Liang nodded approvingly. This way, no one would suspect anything, and normal people wouldn't be able to get Ming Yao's tag, who would feel around the corners of a box. However, this sentence was heard clearly by Lin Yi, who wasn't far away. "Now let's draw lots. We have fewer boys and more girls, so there must be some girls who didn't get picked. But it's okay, those who didn't get picked, you can choose who you want to play with. Of course, you can also forfeit," Xiaofu said. "Now let's draw lots." The boys were eager to try, and as soon as Xiaofu finished speaking, they ran over excitedly to draw lots. Some of the boys with girls they liked started praying in their hearts, hoping to get the girl they liked. The girls, on the other hand, were thinking about their Prince Charming. While they were drawing lots, Pin Liang took out the plastic wrap he had prepared beforehand and distributed it to the girls one by one. It was made very specially. The frame was square, and there was a fixed handle at the bottom. The plastic wrap was placed on the frame, forming a barrier. When using it, the girl only needed to hold this thing in front of her mouth. They didn't have to worry about being taken advantage of. Ming Yao and Yushu got one each. Ming Yao wasn't interested, but Yushu was curious about the structure of the thing, trying to see if she could break it. Lin Yi wasn't very interested in games like this, but in order to prevent Ming Yao and Yushu from being taken advantage of, Lin Yi had to do it himself. Chapter 1603. See for yourself, boss. Are you confident? Kong Xiaobo had a girlfriend and wasn't very interested in this game. What confidence? Ming Yao and Yushu? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, I secretly checked for you before. Yushu's tag is shorter than normal. It's the last one, and there's no cover left. We'll be able to tell if we compare it. But Ming Yao's tag is no different. Kong Xiaobo said quietly. Not bad, kid. You know how to be a spy now. Lin Yi smiled. How about this? You can take out Shu's tag later. Is that okay? Ah, no way. I wouldn't dare. Kong Xiaobo shook his head. Shu would definitely be Lin Yi's woman in the future, and Kong Xiaobo's sister-in-law. Even if she wasn't, he had a girlfriend already. Wouldn't Xiaofan be furious if she knew? So naturally, Kong Xiaobo rejected Lin Yi's suggestion. Haha, can't I pick someone else? Why don't you just appoint me then? Lin Yi smiled. That's true. Kong Xiaobo's eyes lit up. Alright boss, leave it to me. I'll definitely complete the mission. The boys who had drawn their lots were all hiding and cautiously running to the side to look at their lots. Those who had drawn their favorite goddess were naturally beaming with joy. However, those who didn't draw their favorite goddess were naturally frowning at this moment, thinking about who to swap with. The unluckiest ones were those who didn't have a goddess they liked, but they just had to draw the tag of a girl they didn't like. It was really frustrating. Of course, there were also those who drew the ugly girl's tag. Holy Hall. When it was Lin Yi's turn, Lin Yi put his hand into the box and found a tag in the corner according to Gao Xiaofu's instructions. Lin Yi squeezed it in his hand and put another tag in the box. After Lin Yi, it was Kong Xiaobo's turn. Kong Xiaobo searched the box for a long time and finally found the missing tag. Luckily, both of them drew it early. If someone else drew it, Lin Yi would have to take it by force. But then again, even if Yushu's tag fell into someone else's hands, no one would dare to not return it to Lin Yi. They were afraid of Yushu, but they were also afraid of Lin Yi. Boss, mission completed. Kong Xiaobo said to Lin Yi happily. Not bad. Lin Yi nodded and walked towards Mingyao and Yushu. How was it, Shield Bro? Did you draw Shu? Yushu asked impatiently. Holy Hall. Lin Yi smiled and passed the tag to Yushu. Yushu saw Lin Yi's movements, thinking that she was the one he drew. She was very happy, but when she saw the name on the tag, she was disappointed but still happy. Yao Yao, it's you. Is that so? Mingyao felt an inexplicable surge of excitement in her heart, but on the surface she kept her cool. It's all right, at least it's better than a stranger. Lin Yi smiled and didn't reply. Yushu, on the other hand, looked around and wanted to see who drew her tag. She was going to ask that person to choose Lin Yi. Otherwise, Yushu wouldn't let him have it easy. Let someone else kiss him? What a joke. What are you looking for? Lin Yi asked, amused. I'm looking to see who drew my tag, Yushu said. Yours is with Kong Xiaobo. Lin Yi smiled. Yushu blinked, understanding what Lin Yi meant. She smiled happily. Okay, so he'll pick you, right? Probably. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Oh. Yushu was happy. I've tried kissing Shield Bro, but I've never tried a safe kiss like this before. Yushu's words made Lin Yi sweat. Kissing directly? That was mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, alright? In order to show their fairness, Pinliang and Xiaofu were the last two to draw, and Pinliang's tag was the one that Lin Yi put in the corner of the box. Xiaofu's face turned bitter as he looked at the tag in his hand. The one he drew was the second ugliest girl in the class reunion, Shen Ruhua. Not only was her face fat, but she was also extremely short, even prettier than Ruhua in the movies. Liang Bro, what do I do? Why am I so unlucky? Xiaofu looked at the tag in his hand and wanted to cry. Ha ha ha. Pinliang couldn't help but laugh when he saw Xiaofu's tag. You're too smart for your own good. You prepared a tag for me. Why didn't you prepare one for yourself? Are you happy now? It wasn't that Xiaofu didn't want to prepare one. He wanted to sneak a tag in his hand and pretend to draw it. But it was summer, and everyone was wearing short sleeves. He couldn't hide the tag in his hand. He wasn't a magician, so he had to draw it himself. The reason why he made Yushu's tag shorter was because he wanted to draw it himself and give it to Lin Yi. Xiaofu didn't have a girl he liked in the class, and he was just playing along with Pinliang. It didn't matter if he played or not. But now he had drawn Zhen Ruhua. No matter who he chose, no one could accept it. He had no choice but to do it himself. On the other side, Pinliang was laughing at Xiaofu as he held up his tag. His eyes widened in shock when he saw what it was. The name on the tag in his hand wasn't Mingyao, but the ugliest girl in the class, Mei Ruxian. She was as beautiful as a goddess. Not only was her face full of holes, her eyes and mouth were crooked, and she had a mouth full of yellow teeth. Her breath could be smelled from 10 feet away. Pinliang almost fainted when he thought about how he played the safe kiss with someone like this. Liang bro, what's wrong? Xiaofu paused. He didn't know what was wrong with Pinliang. Xiaofu, Liang bro's tag is for you to complete later. You have to complete it. Pinliang passed the tag to Xiaofu and patted him on the shoulder, his tone serious. Ha! Xiaofu paused. Liang bro, aren't you going to kiss Mingyao? See for yourself, Pinliang said. Xiaofu opened the tag Pinliang gave him, a little confused. Chapter 1604. Chapter 1603. Missed thoughts, but when Xiaofu saw it, his eyes rolled back, and he almost fainted. Seriously? God Earth, one Zhenruhua was enough to choke him. And now there was another Mei Ruxian? Liang bro. This. Xiaofu was dumbfounded. Sanctuary. I pulled myself out from between the cracks. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Pinliang glared at him. You're reaping what you sow. I can't. I confirmed it a few times. Xiaofu was confused as well. You're the one who made it, so you should bear the consequences yourself, Pinliang said. Xiaofu frowned. But there was nothing he could do. After a few discussions and exchanges between the boys and girls, everyone had found their favorite game partners. Those who were already in love with each other had also found suitable partners. As for those who didn't have anyone they liked, after this matchmaking session, they had a good impression of each other. Perhaps after this game, they would be able to help a lot of couples get together. This meant that Pinliang and Xiaofu had done a great thing. Everyone performed kisses one by one. And although some of them had feelings for each other, they couldn't do anything under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Plus, they hadn't made their relationship clear before, so after a few kisses, they shyly separated. Sanctuary. When it was Lin Yi and Yushu's turn, Yushu happily raised the plastic wrap and closed her eyes. She whispered to Lin Yi, Shield bro, you have to be gentle with Shu, okay? This is Shu's first kiss. Lin Yi was speechless. Didn't they say that they'd already had their first kiss? How did it become their first kiss? Was it their first safe kiss? If you had to put it that way, then it was similar. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't kiss Yushu. He only pecked her forehead lightly. Alright, it's someone else's turn. Ah, that's it? Yushu was a little disappointed. She really wanted to try kissing him on the lips, but he only kissed her forehead. Hee, what else do you want? Lin Yi laughed and said, Yu Yunyun and Xiao Xiao's treatment is almost the same. Really? Yushu brightened up at Lin Yi's words. So you didn't kiss them either? Lin Yi didn't answer, and Yushu didn't pursue the matter. On the web it was Mengyao's turn. She didn't know why, but her heart was in a mess. She looked at Lin Yi and Shu with anticipation, but also fear. Mengyao was a conservative girl. Her first kiss, first love, and first night were all very important. This was also the reason why she had such a big reaction when she drank the drink that Lin Yi drank. But as she interacted with Lin Yi more, the ambiguous things between the two increased, especially the time when she was poisoned. Lin Yi detoxified her poison, and saw her most embarrassing scene. So Mengyao didn't know how she felt about Lin Yi. Was it love? Or was it a habit? Mengyao wasn't sure. Every time she thought about how she said that she didn't like Lin Yi, she would shrink back a little. She would rather believe that her reliance on Lin Yi was a kind of habitual familial love. She didn't have a mother's love since she was young, and her father was busy with work. Mengyao didn't have much love. But when Lin Yi came to the villa, he took care of her, protected her, and let Mengyao feel loved. So, Mengyao was more willing to believe that her feelings for Lin Yi were just attachment. As for love, how was that possible? How was that possible? Mengyao knew that she couldn't be as bold as Shu. Lin Yi had a girlfriend already, calling himself a mistress? How embarrassing was that? As for Xiao Xiao, Mengyao didn't think much about it. She just treated it as a dying person's wish. This was a special case, there was no comparison. The more she thought about it, the more hesitant she became. Seeing that it was her turn with Lin Yi, Mengyao didn't know why, but she said to Shu, Shu, I want you to play with Lin Yi. If you can choose a guy, you can choose a girl too. Naturally, no one said anything about Mengyao's suggestion. After all, it had nothing to do with anyone else. It was fine as long as the person in question agreed. Oh okay. Yushu hadn't had enough yet, and Mingyao's words made her very happy. Shield bro, let's do it again. Don't go back on your words this time. We need to kiss a little longer. It ended so quickly, Shu didn't feel anything. The misreaction was within Lin Yi's expectations. The miss was actually a very shy person. Giving Shu the role would save everyone from the awkwardness. Lin Yi could more or less confirm Shu's feelings towards him, so no matter how much he messed around with her, she wouldn't have any other thoughts. Mingyao, on the other hand, was something he couldn't understand. Other than the battle with Tang Yun, the miss had shown her determination. Other than that, he couldn't tell if the miss had any other feelings for him other than being friends. As for the battle with Tang Yun, Lin Yi could only attribute it to the miss being so angry that she didn't know what to say. In fact, at that time, she and Tang Yun both said some things that weren't true. Lin Yi and Yushu raised the plastic wrap again. This time, Yushu was smarter. She didn't wait for Lin Yi to kiss her stupidly. Instead, she took the initiative and kissed Lin Yi's lips through the plastic wrap. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. In fact, he could have avoided it, but he didn't. First, Lin Yi was afraid that Yushu would be sad. Second, it was because there was plastic wrap between them, so it shouldn't be considered a real kiss, right? When it came to kissing, Yushu was actually a newbie as well. She knew how it was, but she didn't know why. She only saw on TV that men and women kissed mouth to mouth, but she didn't know anything like a French kiss or a French kiss. So, the two stupidly pressed their lips together for a while and separated. Although Lin Yi didn't have similar experience, he knew a little more than Yushu. However, he didn't want to take advantage of Yushu, so he went along with Yushu and kissed her lips. It was considered a safe kiss. Yushu had achieved her goal, but she was still a little puzzled. The kiss wasn't as beautiful as it seemed. She was a little nervous and excited, but wasn't it like the movies? Wouldn't they get tired after kissing for so long? With this doubt, Yushu decided to go home and search for what was kissing on the internet. She wanted to see if she missed anything. Chapter 1605. In the end, the only one left was the unlucky Gao Xiaofu, the initiator of the event. He'd suffered the consequences of his own actions. He'd had a safe kiss with two girls in the class, Ugly Boss and Ugly Boss. After the kiss, Gao Xiaofu fainted on the ground, completely disgusted. The two beautiful girls, on the other hand, were still intoxicated. Gao Xiaofu, on the other hand, wasn't bad-looking. He could be considered a handsome guy, and he used to be a powerful figure in the class. Although he'd been stepped on by Lin Yi, he still had a place in the girls' hearts. This was especially true for a dinosaur like him. As a result, Gao Xiaofu fainted after being hugged and kissed by the two beauties. Gao Xiaofu's situation drew a round of laughter from the class. The game was just an appetizer. After the game was over, Pinliang wanted to bring everyone to the game room to play billiards, video games, bowling, etc. But now that Gao Xiaofu had fainted, he couldn't go anymore. He could only give everyone a ticket to the game room. Those who wanted to play could go on their own. Mingyao's heart ached as she looked at Lin Yi and the blissful Yushu. Was this the happiness that belonged to her? She was starting to regret giving this chance to Yushu. Mingyao rubbed her temples. Why was it that she always regretted things? Did she really regret it? Was it because she liked Lin Yi? Or was it something else? Mingyao shook her head, trying her best not to think about it. It was irritating. At first, she'd been wary and hostile towards Lin Yi, but unknowingly, she'd been influenced. There was a change in his mentality. Yao Yao, what are you thinking about? Yushu asked as she saw Mingyao standing there in a daze. She didn't know what she was thinking about. Nothing, Shu. Mingyao shook her head. Let's go. I'm a little tired. Let's go back and rest. Oh. So we're not going to the game room? Yushu was a little disappointed. It wasn't easy for them to come out and play. There was no point in going back to rest so early. Mingyao could see Yushu's disappointment as well. Yushu had been studying in the villa all this time, and she hadn't had a chance to relax at all. Lin Yi was still practicing, and Mingyao, Yushu, and Tang Yun didn't want to disturb Lin Yi. They knew that Lin Yi was about to do something important. Therefore, they did not go out to play. Therefore, with such a rare opportunity, It would be a pity if he didn't enjoy it to the fullest. Mengyao, on the other hand, felt a little tired from the past 2 days. She'd been fanning Lin Yi, and she was sweating all over. She'd turned the air conditioner to the max, and she felt like she was about to catch a cold. But in order not to disappoint Shu, Mengyao decided to accompany her. Thus he smiled and said, "Oh right, I forgot about that. Shall we go then?" Lin Yi could see Mengyao's exhaustion, but he could also see the deep love she had for Yushu. Lin Yi could see how much she cared for Yushu. She looked like a big sister, and it was rare for them to have such a good relationship. They weren't real sisters, but they were closer than real sisters. Xiaobo wasn't interested in being a third wheel at all. He went back to his room to rest, feeling a little annoyed as well. Wherever he went, students would come up to him and flatter him. Xiaobo was starting to get bored. Lin Yi and the other two arrived at the activity room on the top floor of the resort. The entire floor was the activity center, and there were many entertainment programs. Pinliang had wanted to book a private room for everyone to rest in, but he didn't because of Xiaofu. But there were many resting places in the activity center, and they weren't worried about not having enough space. There were many entertainment programs in the activity center, but there weren't many customers. It was empty as far as the eye could see. But that was to be expected. The activity center was only open to the guests of the resort, and it wasn't open to the public. How many customers could there be? Lin Yi and the other two found a place to sit down. Mengyao was a little weak, so Lin Yi turned to Yushu. "What do you want to play? I'll bring you." "Okay." Yushu noticed Mengyao's discomfort and didn't force her. "Yao Yao, you'll stay here and watch over us?" "Yeah." Mengyao nodded. Most of the time, Mengyao wished Shu well in her heart, hoping that she'd find a good partner. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was a good choice based on his character and strength. But the problem was that Lin Yi already had a girlfriend, and not just one. Was there even a chance between him and Yushu? Even if Shu said she didn't care, did she really care? And that ridiculous promise with her, the first wife and the second wife. Mengyao sometimes couldn't understand Yushu's true thoughts. Sometimes she looked like an idiot, and liked to play dumb. But Mengyao felt that Yushu wasn't playing dumb most of the time. Maybe what she said was true. She'd practically grown up with Yushu, and no one knew her better than Mengyao. But even so, Mengyao didn't understand her at all. This carefree girl, who could even be called a happy little girl, didn't seem to be happy. But in many situations, even if they were like sisters, Mengyao wouldn't purposely ask Yushu if she didn't want to talk about it. No matter what, she was Yushu's Yao Yao, and she would treat her well for life. Mengyao sighed and laid on the table quietly, watching Lin Yi and Shu walk away. Lin Yi played a few rides with Yushu, but Yushu seemed a little dull, not as lively as before. It was probably because Mengyao couldn't come with them. Lin Yi found it funny. These two sisters were really close. "Let's not play anymore, Shield bro, let's go back and accompany Yao Yao," Yushu said disinterestedly. "Ha, okay." Lin Yi nodded and went to the drinks counter, bought 3 bottles of drinks, and walked towards Mengyao with Shu. But after 2 steps, Lin Yi's face darkened. Lin Yi saw a baldy with sunglasses sitting beside Mengyao's seat, talking to Mengyao non-stop. Beside the baldy were a couple of gangster-like young men who obviously didn't look like good people. Chapter 1606. Another conflict, however. The baldy gave Lin Yi a familiar feeling. Had they met before? "Shield bro, someone seems to be flirting with Yao Yao sis. Let's go beat him up." Yushu panicked when she saw that Mengyao was being flirted with. She picked up a bowling ball and said, 7*. Seeing Yushu's actions, Lin Yi suddenly felt pity for the baldy. His head was definitely not as hard as a bowling ball. But after 2 steps, Lin Yi's face darkened even more. Because Lin Yi really did know this baldy. "What? You're not giving me face. I asked you to dance with me, but you didn't agree. Now you can't even have a drink with me?" The baldy looked at Mengyao. His tone was very displeased. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't like to be rough with girls, he would have gotten someone to take Mengyao back. "I don't have a drink, but there's a bowling ball," Yushu said as she swung the bowling ball at the back of the baldy's head. The baldy fell to the ground, blood flowing from the back of his head. "Master Yu." The gangsters around Master Yu didn't expect that someone would come out of nowhere and attack Master Yu. They were all mystic class masters, and their strength wasn't low. It was just that they didn't put their attention on defense. They didn't expect someone to suddenly attack them. The reason why Lin Yi didn't stop Yushu was because he recognized the Baldi's identity. He was Master Yu, the one who wanted to copy Xinyan's exam paper. So Lin Yi wasn't worried that Yushu would beat the Baldi to death. If he died, then so be it. Noble houses and hidden houses had their own ways to resolve their grudges. Fuck, you're asking for it. The yellow hair next to Master Yu turned around and wanted to beat Yushu. He didn't care if Yushu was a girl or not. How could he let her off if she dared to hit Master Yu with a bowling ball? However, Lin Yi had already pulled Yushu behind him. He looked at the yellow hair in front of him coldly. What, you want to play trapeze again? Quack. The yellow-haired man was stunned. When he saw Lin Yi clearly, his face suddenly became extremely ugly. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that these two chicks were related to Lin Yi. Previously in the examination hall, he had suffered a loss at the hands of Lin Yi. And this time, suddenly, the yellow hair's eyes lit up. Although he couldn't beat Lin Yi, there was someone here who could beat Lin Yi. After the incident last time, young Master Yu specifically asked for a mystic late-phase peak physical practitioner to be his bodyguard. The purpose was to deal with Lin Yi. The blonde quickly yelled, "Stick bro, this kid is a mystic late-phase spiritual practitioner. He's a troublesome opponent, you'll have to deal with him. It's him who made young Master Yu suffer a loss last time." Stick bro was just like his name, tall and thin like a stick. He didn't dye his hair like the yellow-haired man. His hair was gray and white. Obviously, even if he pretended to be young, he wouldn't be able to go to school with young Master Yu. Therefore, such a bodyguard could only follow young Master Yu outside. It was impossible to do so when he was in school. Holy Hall. When Stick bro heard that Lin Yi was a mystic late-phase master, he was slightly surprised, but he didn't care too much. He was a famous mystic late-phase peak physical practitioner for a long time. In his opinion, Lin Yi was just a junior who didn't know how to break through. Even if he had strength, it probably wasn't stable. As for Lin Yi's background, young Master Yu went back to investigate for a long time, but he couldn't find anything. He was only a second young master, so he couldn't use all the resources of the Yu family. He could only ask around to see if there were other hidden families who looked like Lin Yi. But from the information he got back, there was no one who looked like Lin Yi, so young Master Yu was relieved. Since he wasn't from a hidden family, there was no problem. As for the ancient level, he really didn't think about it. Disciples of the ancient level generally didn't appear in the secular world. They didn't even bother to fight with ordinary masters like the hidden families. They only wanted to pursue the heaven class, hoping to achieve the heavenly Tao. Where would they have the time to take an exam? Young Master Yu was a cultivator after all. Although he didn't have much strength, he still had true qi to protect his body. He was injured by the bowling ball, but it wasn't too serious. After he got up and took a pill, the blood at the back of his head quickly stopped. "Stick, kill this kid for me." Young Master Yu caught his breath and glared at Lin Yi fiercely. Last time he lost face in front of Lin Yi. This time, he didn't even get his face back and was hit by a bowling ball. If he didn't trample Lin Yi to death, how could he vent his anger? "Kid, I heard that you are a master in the late stage of mystic class?" Stick bro looked at Lin Yi and asked faintly, "Which family's disciple are you from? Tell me your name." "What? Are you trying to test me? Do you want to see if House Yu has the ability to challenge the power behind me?" Lin Yi looked at Stick bro mockingly and asked. Stick bro was older, and he had become famous earlier. He had long passed the age of being young and frivolous, so he considered the problem more comprehensively. Although young Master Yu said that there was no Lin Yi in those families, he still wanted to ask about Lin Yi's background. You're just afraid that the flood will destroy the temple of the Dragon King. Our Yu family has never been afraid of anyone. Among the hidden families, even the hidden House Yu has to respect us. Stick bro felt embarrassed when Lin Yi saw through his thoughts. "No matter who you are, you have to give me an explanation for today's matter. Either cripple your own martial arts or follow me back to House Yu and wait for our master's punishment." I'm a solo cultivator with no family. Lin Yi smiled faintly. "Are you relieved now? But as for the two conditions you mentioned, I think we should do the opposite. Either you cripple your own martial arts, or I'll cripple you. Then you can go back and wait for your master to kick you out of the family. You have a sharp tongue. Stick Bro sneered and didn't say anything else. He suddenly raised his strength to the peak of the late stage of mystic class, and swung his palm towards Lin Yi. He had made up his mind that even if he wanted to capture Lin Yi, he would first cripple Lin Yi. Otherwise, young Master Yu's anger wouldn't be extinguished so easily. Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't dodge. He casually raised his right palm, and in an instant, the peak of the late stage of mystic class was revealed. In an instant, Stick Bro's face, which was originally proud and confident of victory, suddenly took a 180-degree turn. Previously, he thought that it wouldn't be easy for him to use his peak of the late stage of mystic class to fight Lin Yi, who was a spiritual master of the late stage of mystic class. Although there was a difference of one level between spiritual and physical, it depended on how you fought. Chapter 1607. Chapter 1606. New plan. Stick Bro focused all his strength on his palms, and if Lin Yi didn't defend with all his might, he would be crippled. Moreover, Stick Bro's arts were similar to Wu Qintian's. Both of them focused on their hands, high attack and low defense. From what he saw, Lin Yi would definitely be heavily injured, but he didn't expect that Lin Yi's strength would be mystic late phase peak. What the fuck? Wasn't this a trap? If Stick Bro fought against a first stage spiritual practitioner, he would definitely win, but if he fought against a spiritual practitioner who was one stage higher, wouldn't he be looking for death? No matter how strong he was still one stage lower. It was all for naught. He didn't have the ability to fight above his level. This was the same logic as playing online games. Your level was there, and if you wanted to kill someone who was a higher level than you, it would be very difficult. Of course, there were exceptions, such as if your skills were stronger than others, or if your equipment was better than others. Network. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was one of those players who had good skills and good equipment in online games, and he even had the Jade Pendant. How could others play against him? And so, Stick Bro was sent flying by Lin Yi with a sad face, landing on the bowling alley 10 meters away. Coincidentally, someone threw a bowling ball at the head of the extremely weak Stick Bro, knocking him out cold. St. Hall Mystic Late Phase Peak. How is this possible? Yellow and Purple Hair looked at Lin Yi in shock, not knowing how he became a Mystic Late Phase Peak Master. You hid your strength before? What do you think? Lin Yi was too lazy to answer their questions. Let them think about it. Yellow and Purple Hair, on the other hand, thought that perhaps Lin Yi really did hide his strength from the start. If Lin Yi could hide it the first time, he could definitely hide it the second time. Then what about the third time? Could it be that Lin Yi's true power wasn't even at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class? Yellow Hair and Purple Hair were dumbstruck at this thought. But then again, it was Earth rank. Hidden aristocratic families were restrained by the Arbitration Association and couldn't casually appear in the secular world. Thus, they were relieved. You better think twice before going against the Hidden Right family. The yellow-haired man had spoken harshly. He did not have the guts to stay here anymore. Even Brother Stick was no match for Lin Yi. What ability did they have to keep Lin Yi here? Therefore, he was convinced by young Master Yu and prepared to leave in a hurry. As for Purple Hair, he went to carry Brother Stick, and the few of them disappeared from the entertainment center. During this period, young Master Yu didn't say a word. His heart was filled with hatred, but he couldn't vent it. He was well aware of the difference in strength between a peak late phase mystic class spiritual master and a physical master. Especially since Stick Bro was injured, he was definitely not Lin Yi's opponent. Holy Hallin, he didn't think too much about becoming enemies with the Hidden Right family. Since the hatred had been formed, there was no way to resolve it. He would just take it one step at a time. Yao Yao, are you okay? They didn't do anything to you, right? Lin Yi looked at the tired Meng Yao and asked. I'm fine, thank you. But there won't be any trouble, right? The miss could tell that those people weren't simple, so she was just perfunctory and didn't get angry directly. Huh? What are you thanking me for? Haven't I always been your fighter? Lin Yi smiled. Aren't we friends now? Meng Yao asked. Lin Yi was slightly stunned and nodded. And we're friends, so there's no need to say thank you. Okay. Meng Yao seemed happy to hear Lin Yi say that. because of young Master Yu and Stick Bro. The three of them who were already a little dispirited had no more thoughts of playing anymore. They left the activity room and went back to their rooms to rest. Linny didn't really stay in the same room with Mengyao and Yushu. It wasn't convenient, and people would gossip about him. She was fine, but Linny was afraid of bringing gossip to the miss, so he went to Kong Xiaobo's room. Looking at Linny leave, the miss was expressionless, and no one could tell if she was happy or sad. In the floating cloud bar, Yao Wang, Uncle Zhu, Boss Zhu, Qibing, and Sihua were sitting together, plotting something. Linny went to the class reunion. If I'm not wrong, they'll definitely go hiking tomorrow. This is the activity that people who go to the resort choose the next morning, Sihua said. Sihua said. He was in the entertainment industry after all, so he was very familiar with these things. Then let's do it tomorrow morning. Boss Zhu nodded, but he was a little worried as he looked at Yao Wang. Yao Wang, is what you said true? Ordinary poisonous snakes will become extremely poisonous after consuming this 5-step dispersing powder. But they won't be poisoned to death? I've studied medicine for so long, why would I lie to you? Yao Wang said. Plus, we're all Master Bing's people. This isn't just revenge for Zhu Lauer, it's also revenge for Master Bing. That's good. Boss Zhu nodded and said. People who are poisoned by this kind of poison will lose their true qi and have no antidote? I heard that Lin Yi is a miracle doctor, too. What if he can cure it? Of course there's a cure, but Lin Yi may be a skilled doctor. But where would he find the cure in that small town? By the time he gets back to Songshan and finds the cure, his qi will be long gone, and he'll become a normal person. There's no point in curing it. Yao Wang said. Oh, this poison doesn't work on normal people? Boss Zhu asked. No, it'll only hurt a little, and the wound will swell for a few days, but it won't cause much damage. This is why normal snakes don't have any effects after consuming it, Yao Wang explained. All right. I'll find a chance tomorrow to poison Lin Yi and turn him into a normal person. It'll be too easy for us to deal with him then. Boss Zhu nodded. Big brother, but that Lin Yi seems to be able to recover his strength, right? I heard that his meridians were all destroyed, but his meridians recovered, and he regained his strength. Uncle Zhu reminded. Meridians can be healed with the meridian opening pill. Once the meridians are healed, doesn't that mean that his strength will be restored? But this 5-step powder disperses all the qi in the body, turning a person into a normal person. It's different. Yao Wang explained. Zhu Lauer, aren't you an example? Uncle Zhu thought about it, and felt that it was indeed the case. He immediately felt relieved. Then it's settled. Tomorrow, I'll think of a way to make the snake that ate the 5-step powder bite Lin Yi. Boss Zhu said fiercely. Boss Zhu said fiercely. Once Lin Yi disperses his pure energy, he'll be a tiger without teeth. We can step on him however we want. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1608. A very important personal though. The hidden house. Zhao wanted them to keep a low profile and bear with it, especially when old Zhao was in seclusion. Qibing and Boss Zhu couldn't take this lying down. Qibing's legs were healed by Elder Bai, and Uncle Zhu's life was saved by Elder Bai, but it wasn't realistic for Uncle Zhu to practice for the rest of his life. His meridians were all broken, and so were his limbs. He was now a cripple in a wheelchair. Seeing his brother, who had a bright future ahead of him, become a cripple just like that, how could Boss Zhu take this lying down? But with Elder Bai and Guangyin's warning, he didn't dare do anything rash. This time, Qibing couldn't take it anymore, and the two of them hit it off. They wanted to harm Lin Yi, but they couldn't fight him head-on, so Yao Wang thought of a soft way. Holy Halwan had to admit that these people had some smart. It didn't look easy, but as long as they did it properly, Lin Yi would be completely crippled. It was worth the trouble. Hidden in the Tang family, in the training room of the Tang family patriarch, Old Master Tang, a disciple in his 20s was sitting on a chair, waiting for Old Master Tang to finish his training. Holy Hall, if Lin Yi were here, he'd be able to recognize this 20-something. He was one of the participants in the Ice Palace test, one of the unlucky bastards that Zhang Naipeo had robbed on the first day of the test. And so he didn't pass the test, and returned to the hidden house with regret. Of course it wasn't his fault. How could a hidden house compete with the ancient sects? Therefore, when this Tang family disciple told the clan elders about what had happened, no one blamed him. After all, this matter couldn't be blamed on him. Even his second uncle's family, who had always been at odds with him, didn't say anything. This Tang kid was called Tang Yui. He was the direct descendant of House Tang. And after reporting the situation to the elders, he rushed to see the old head of House Tang, Elder Tang. Because this matter could only be decided by Elder Tang. Tang Yui was a smart man. He knew the importance of this matter. He also knew that if this matter was true, it would have an immeasurable impact on the Tang family. So Tang Yui did not tell anyone, not even his father, the current head of the Tang family. He hurriedly went to Grandfather Tang's room. However, Tang Yui was the direct descendant of the Tang family. Personally coming to see Grandfather Tang was not considered to be breaking the rules, so no one would say anything. 7 After practicing a set of the Tang family's internal energy cultivation techniques, Grandfather Tang stopped and nodded towards Tang Yuyu, who was waiting on a chair. Yuyu, how was the training this time? Did you find anything? Tang Yuyu did not hide anything and respectfully told Grandfather Tang what he had said to his father and the great elder. Grandfather, that person is a disciple of the everyday sect. Grandson does not dare to fight with him. If we insist on fighting for a moment of pride, then not only will our grandson not be able to return, but it will also bring disaster to our hidden Tang family. So grandson can only give up on this opportunity. You did the right thing. The ancient sects and the hidden families are not on the same level. Tolerating them is the wisest choice. Elder Tang nodded his head and said, our Tang family's inner force cultivation technique has always leaned towards the ice attribute. This time, we sent you to the ice palace because we wanted you to stay there and become an outer disciple. That way, you would be able to advance in that unique environment. But forget it, there are some things that cannot be done, so there is no need to force it. Grandson knows, so grandson did not want to give up on this opportunity. I stayed at the foot of the ice mountain and trained for a while before coming back. The spiritual energy there is thick, allowing grandson to break through the bottleneck. Right now grandson is a mystic mid-phase peak. Tang Yuyu said. What? You broke through? Haha, that's great. Grandfather Tang said happily. Not bad, not bad. At your age, you are already a mystic mid-phase peak. In time, it is not impossible for you to break through to sky class. You just came back and you're already here. Are you trying to take credit from me? Your father and the others don't know about this, do they? I'm sorry, grandfather. They really don't know. I didn't have the time to tell them. Tang Yuyu quickly apologized. I know that you always wanted to be the young master, but I didn't tell you. Now that you're back from the trial, are you thinking about it again? Grandfather Tang sighed. Grandfather, let's not talk about this for now. I came to see you in a hurry because of something else. Tang Yuyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although he wanted to be the young master, he did come for something else. Oh, something else? Grandfather Tang paused. It's something very important. Tang Yuyu suddenly lowered his voice. Grandfather, should we go to the secret room? Although no one dared to eavesdrop outside of Grandfather Tang's training room, the sky class masters in the family were not to be trifled with. If they heard what Tang Yuyu said, it would cause a huge uproar. Without Grandfather Tang's approval, Tang Yuyu didn't dare to speak carelessly. Secret room. Grandfather Tang was even more confused. What is it that requires us to go to the secret room to discuss? It should be noted that the secret room would only be opened when it was related to the Tang family's development or the selection of the next family head. Under other circumstances, Grandfather Tang would never go to the secret room. I saw someone who could change the status of our Tang family. If my guess is correct, then the Tang family's meteoric rise is just around the corner. Tang Yuyu said. However, before this news is confirmed, I can only tell you, grandfather. Oh, saw someone? Someone who can change the Tang family? Grandfather Tang frowned. However, seeing how mysterious Tang Yuyu was, he thought for a moment and nodded his head. All right, come with me. After speaking, Grandfather Tang turned around and walked towards an ancient painting by the side of the bookshelf. He gently touched the mechanism on the ancient painting, and a creaking sound could be heard. The place where the bookshelf used to be was now a secret passageway. Although everyone in the Tang family knew about Grandfather Tang's secret room, the only person who was actually summoned into the secret room was Tang Yuyu's father, the current head of the hidden Tang family. Chapter 1609. Relatives? For Tang Yuyu to be able to enter this place, it could be considered a form of glory. Tang Yuyu carefully followed Grandfather Tang into the secret room. Soon after, the door to the secret room automatically closed with a clang, plunging the passage into darkness. Grandfather Tang casually pressed a button, and the lights in the secret passage lit up, illuminating the entire passageway. The interior of the passage was very simple, not as luxurious as Tang Yuyu had imagined. It was no different from a normal staircase. After descending 2 flights of stairs, Grandfather Tang and Tang Yuyu arrived at a small hall. In the small hall, there was only a simple meeting table and a few chairs. This was the so-called secret room. In Tang Yuyu's mind, the secret room was supposed to be a very luxurious and dignified place. He never expected it to be so ordinary, like a room that had never been renovated before. In reality, Grandfather Tang rarely used the secret room, so there was no need to decorate it too luxuriously. What, is it different from what I expected? Do you think this place is very shabby? Grandfather Tang looked at Tang Yuyu and smiled. Holy Church, I wouldn't dare. Tang Yuyu hurriedly said. A place to discuss matters naturally doesn't need to be luxurious. You're right. Take a seat, Yuyu. This time you can speak. What important matter do you have to tell me? Grandfather Tang sat on the main seat and gestured to Tang Yuyu. Grandfather, during the trial, I saw someone. Speaking up to this point, Tang Yuyu hesitated, as if he didn't know what to say. You saw someone? Who? Grandfather Tang said. If you have something to say, then say it. Why are you hemming and hawing? Why did you come to this secret room? I'm the only one here, no one else can hear me. Grandfather, then grandson will speak boldly. Tang Yuyu gritted his teeth and said. During the trial I saw someone, she looked very similar to third aunt. Your third aunt? Xiaoming? Grandfather Tang furrowed his brows and said. Looked like her? Who looked like her? Ice Palace. Palace Master. Tang Yuyu said. When I first saw her, I thought I saw third aunt. At that time, I was so scared that I couldn't speak, but because she was a peak late-stage heaven rank expert, I didn't dare to look too much. But in the trial, the more I thought about it, the more I felt that something was wrong. Later, when the trial ended, I took a closer look at the Ice Palace Master. She really looked like Third Madam. But I haven't seen Third Madam for many years, so I don't have a deep impression of her, but she should be similar to the Third Madam I saw when she was young. You mean? The Palace Master of Ice Palace and your third auntie. Grandfather Tang was shocked by Tang Yuyu's words. He jumped up from his chair with a whoosh. With Elder Tang's composure, it was impossible for him to do something so crude. However, the news that Tang Yuyu brought him was too important. I suspect that the Palace Master of Ice Palace is the child that Third Madam lost. Tang Yuyu said, Grandfather, do you really think that there are people in this world who look so similar? This. Grandfather Tang's expression instantly became incomparably interesting. After a while he said, That's not possible. The Palace Master of the Ice Palace is in existence at the peak late-stage heaven rank. How could she and our Tang family? Grandfather, this is a photo that I secretly took with my phone. Please take a look. As he spoke, Tang Yuyu handed a phone to Grandfather Tang. This photo was taken that night in front of the inn. Rock Tang and Elder Qing naturally noticed his actions, but they had no need to stop him. After all, their images were not a secret, so it wasn't a big deal for the hidden families to know about it. 7*. Let me take a look. Although Grandfather Tang said that it was unlikely, his heart was in a state of shock. Deep down in his heart, he also hoped that what Tang Yuyu said was true. If that was the case, then the Tang family's meteoric rise was just around the corner. Grandfather Tang practically snatched the phone from Tang Yuyu's hands. After taking a look at the photo, he was instantly stunned. Too similar. Really too similar. Grandfather Tang looked at the photo on the phone and mumbled to himself, She looks exactly like your third madam when she was young. Grandfather, you mean she? After hearing his grandfather's words, Tang Yuyu confirmed his suspicions. She is my half-sister from a different mother? If that's the case, then that's it. But I'm not sure. Elder Tang suddenly sighed. Your mother is a jealous person. She was the one who single-handedly caused everything that happened in the past. Now that the Ice Palace's palace master is indeed your sister, it may not be a good thing for the Tang family. After the excitement, Grandfather Tang's mind calmed down. His eldest son had married 3 wives. His first wife was also from a hidden family. To be honest, it was just a marriage alliance. His eldest son had no feelings for his eldest son. As for his eldest son's childhood sweetheart, she became his second wife. However, Grandfather Tang's eldest daughter-in-law had used a scheme to kill his second daughter-in-law. If not for the fact that she was from an aristocratic family, Grandfather Tang would have punished her. However, his second daughter-in-law had no background and no children. So, after his eldest daughter-in-law's family offered some compensation, the matter was left unsettled. As for the third daughter-in-law, after his second daughter-in-law died, his eldest son married her and gave birth to a daughter. Originally, this daughter would not have been a threat to Tang Yuyu's right to inherit the position of junior head of household. However, his jealous eldest daughter-in-law ordered the servants to throw the daughter out. After this incident, the third daughter-in-law became depressed and did not speak much. Instead, she spent all day looking for her daughter. It was as if she was mentally unstable. Seeing that she was no longer a threat, the eldest daughter-in-law no longer paid attention to her. Using the excuse that she had gone crazy, she ordered the servants to lock her up in a separate courtyard and refused to see the rest of the Tang family. My mother? If I were my father, I would have divorced her a long time ago. Tang Yuyu's face flashed with anger. She is not fit to be my mother. I'm ashamed of her. When I was young, I was very close to third aunt. I would often send people to deliver daily necessities to her. I believe, with my help, third aunt will not blame our Tang family. Tang Yuyu was an honest and kind person. He respected open schemes and was very disdainful towards schemes. Target =_blank. Chapter 1610. The emotional Tang family. As a result, Tang Yuyu did not have the upper hand in the fight for the position of young master. If he had been willing to play some tricks, the position would have been his long ago. Although she was Tang Yuyu's biological mother, the things that his mother did made Tang Yuyu despise her. As a result, Tang Yuyu's relationship with her was very cold, and he kept a respectful distance from her. Sanctuary, that's true. Grandfather Tang nodded his head and said, But Yuyu, do you know why I haven't agreed to let you be the young master? Ha! Tang Yuyu was surprised. He didn't know why his grandfather would suddenly bring this up. Yuyu, you are a good person. You are a real man and there is nothing wrong with your character. However, you are too loyal and don't know how to scheme. By placing you in the position of young master too early, I'm not helping you, I'm harming you. In the family, there are many people eyeing that position. It's easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to guard against a stab in the dark. If you really become the young master, you will soon become the target of everyone. When that time comes, I'm afraid you won't even know how you died. Grandfather Tang sighed. Ah! Tang Yuyu was stunned. He suddenly understood his grandfather's painstaking efforts. It turned out that grandfather's heart had always been on his side. Thinking of this, Tang Yuyu was extremely moved. Thank you, grandfather, for taking care of me. Forget it, let's not talk about this anymore. This matter must be kept a secret. Don't tell anyone else. At the moment, only the two of us know about it. If this matter is leaked, it will be a blessing or a curse for the Tang family. Grandfather Tang warned. Sanctuary, yes. Tang Yuyu replied solemnly. Good. Now come with me to see your third auntie. Grandfather Tang said. Follow me and be careful. Don't let anyone see you. Yes. Tang Yuyu replied. And so, Grandfather Tang led Tang Yuyu out of the secret room. Avoiding everyone's eyes, they directly arrived at the courtyard where third auntie was being held captive. Grandfather Tang was a heaven-ranked expert. For him, this matter was as easy as flipping his hand. The servant in third concubine's courtyard suddenly saw 2 more people in the courtyard. He was so shocked that he was about to shout. However, when he saw clearly who it was, he was shocked. Old master, young master. Go ahead, it's none of your business. Tang Yuyu waved his hand and gestured. Yes, young master. The servant did not dare to speak, and hurriedly bowed his head and left to attend to his own matters. Meanwhile, Tang Yuyu and Grandfather Tang directly entered Third Aunt's room. What he saw was a young married woman. She was dressed very simply. Although she was a little listless, she was definitely not mentally ill. The young woman's appearance was no longer there, but one could tell that she had been a beauty when she was young. Looking at this third aunt, Tang Yuyu could not help but sigh. Thinking back to when he was young, she had brought him along to play. She had been such a beautiful young girl, just like the current Ice Palace master. But now, after so many years, things had changed. All these years, although Tang Yuyu had often asked people to send food and clothing to Third Aunt, in order to avoid arousing suspicion, he had never come here. After all, he was the grandson of the first wife. How could he possibly get involved with Third Aunt? At the same time, Grandfather Tang could not help but lament the passing of time. It had only been 10 years and this third aunt had already become so haggard. Thinking about his eldest son, who was willing to do anything for the sake of power, Grandfather Tang shook his head. If it wasn't for his eldest son's tacit approval, no matter how jealous his daughter-in-law was, this was still the Tang family, not hers. It wasn't a place where she could do whatever she wanted. However, in order to get hold of his daughter-in-law's weakness, he used her family's influence to throw away his own flesh and blood. This was simply inhumane. Elder Tang noticed all of this, but he did not say a word. The Tang family needed to develop, so they needed a ruthless person. As long as he did not do anything that would harm the Tang family's interests, Grandfather Tang would not interfere. Hearing the sound, Third Aunt turned around. When she saw the old man and the young man in front of her, she was stunned. She naturally recognized the old man, but the young man looked a little familiar. However, she did not dare to recognize him. Father, why are you here? Third Aunt hurriedly stood up and bowed. Father, please take a seat. Third Aunt was a little fearful. For the past 10 years, no one from the Tang family had appeared before her. But now, the Tang family head had suddenly appeared, causing her to panic. She was originally from a poor background, and was not from a big family. All these years, she had lost her daughter, and had always been depressed. She also knew that the big madam did not like her, so she could only wait for her life to come to an end. Xiaoming, it's been so many years. It must have been hard on you. My unfilial son sighed. As soon as Grandfather Tang entered the room, he waved his hand and sighed. Father, it's not his fault. It's Xiaoming's fault for being careless. Third Aunt was fearful, unsure of what Grandfather Tang was planning. All these years, I have never given up on finding your daughter. But as you know, the eldest daughter-in-law's family is as powerful as the Tang family. So I had no choice but to ask you to investigate in secret. Grandfather Tang lied without batting an eyelid. He pointed to Tang Yuyu and said, Yuyu has always been close to you when he was young. Now that his sister has gone missing, he has become estranged from his mother. Ah, it's the big young master. After hearing Grandfather Tang's words, Third Aunt finally recognized the young man in front of her as Tang Yuyu. Third Aunt, all these years, in order to avoid arousing suspicion, I haven't visited you. I am truly ashamed. Tang Yuyu bowed deeply. These were his sincere words. He wasn't as hypocritical as Elder Tang. He had a close relationship with Third Auntie, otherwise, he wouldn't have sent people to deliver gifts to her all these years. Young master, you're exaggerating. All these years, I've relied on you to take care of me. I don't have to worry about food and clothing here. Third Aunt didn't doubt Grandfather Tang's words. If others had forgotten about her, she would have believed it. But all these years, Tang Yuyu had sent gifts to her during the festive season. This touched Third Aunt very much. In the past, she didn't treat Tang Yuyu well. This child was really not bad. Hearing that Tang Yuyu had been secretly searching for his daughter all these years, Third Aunt was even more excited as she asked, Young master, then, did you manage to find out anything about Tang Tang? Third Aunt's daughter's nickname was Tang Tang. It was a very nice name. As for her real name, it was also Tang Tang. It was just that the characters were different. Target =_blank. Chapter 1611. Chapter 1610. preparing to go to the ice palace. I have some news. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here with grandfather. Tang Yu sighed. Although his grandfather was lying, he couldn't refute him. He simply said, "Third auntie, you are the elder. Why are you calling me young master? Just call me Yu. Xiaoming, Yu has indeed found news of Tang Tang. However, he isn't sure if this person is Tang Tang. Look, he took a photo." "Ah, where is it?" After hearing Grandfather Tang's words, third auntie seemed to be in a much better mood. She said excitedly, "Quick, let me see." However, she quickly realized that she had lost her composure. She quickly said, "Father, I'm sorry. I was too anxious." "It's nothing. Yu, let Xiaoming see the phone." Grandfather Tang's attitude had always been good. As a sly old fox, he naturally knew how to put on an act. Tang Yu had already revealed his true feelings, so there was no need for him to put on an act. "Third auntie, please take a look." Tang Yu handed the phone to third auntie. Third concubine took the phone and glanced at it. She exclaimed in surprise and almost dropped the phone on the ground. Her eyes stared straight at the photo on the phone. Her throat was stuck and she couldn't say a word. She couldn't help but tear up. After a long time, she finally said in a barely audible voice, "Tang Tang, is that you? Tang Tang, it must be you." Grandfather Tang and Tang Yu didn't say anything. They both knew that third auntie needed some time to digest this news. At this time, it was already a miracle that she didn't faint from excitement. After all, no one would be able to accept the sudden news of their long-lost daughter. "Yes, it must be. Father, when I first saw her, I had an inexplicable feeling in my heart, as if she was my daughter. This is a kind of blood connection. I'm sure it's her. She must be Tang Tang." Third aunt said, "Where is she? I'm going to find her." Grandfather Tang smiled bitterly. "Xiaoming, don't get too excited. It's a bit complicated." "Complicated?" The third auntie wanted to say something, but she shut her mouth. She looked at Grandfather Tang with anticipation and anxiety. "Xiaoming, do you know her current identity?" Grandfather Tang sighed and said, "Her current identity is the palace master of an ancient sect, Ice Palace." "What? An ancient sect? Ice Palace master?" Third aunt was shocked. Although she was born poor, she had been in the hidden Tang family for many years. She knew about the hidden families and ancient sections. So when she heard that the person in the photo was the palace master of the ancient sect, Ice Palace, she was stunned. "Holy Church, this is also the reason why Zhua and I are uncertain." Old Man Tang said, "The difference between us and the Ice Palace's palace master is simply too great. How could an abandoned child of the Tang family become the palace master of one of the largest ancient sects, the Ice Palace? This was too unimaginable. Moreover, according to Yu, she was a peak late-stage heaven rank master. Even I am only at the early stage of heaven rank." Third aunt held the phone tightly and did not speak. She looked at the person in the photo and no one knew what she was thinking. As for Grandfather Tang and Tang Yu, they did not disturb her. After a while third aunt said, "I have a feeling that she is my daughter, it really is. Xiaoming, if you're sure, let's personally go to the Ice Palace's location. Even if we're right or not, there's nothing to lose." Elder Tang had already thought it through. Going to the Ice Palace wouldn't be considered as offending the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace was different from the everyday and everyday day sect, which didn't play by the rules. Sects like the Ice Palace sometimes didn't care about small and weak powers. If they really went to the Ice Palace, they would at most be chased out for making a mistake, but there wouldn't be any danger. "Is that okay?" "Okay." Third aunt agreed without hesitation. She also wanted to see her daughter as soon as possible. Not to mention the Ice Palace, even if she had to go to the ends of the earth, she would go. "Then it's decided. You don't need to say anything to the servants. I will make the arrangements and we will set off in a few days." Grandfather Tang said after a moment of silence. "I understand." Third aunt nodded in agreement. Although third concubine was born in a poor family and did not have any bad intentions, she was not stupid. She quickly realized that if her daughter Tang Tang was really the palace master of the Ice Palace, the future of the Tang family would be greatly affected. But would her daughter be willing to acknowledge her as her mother? Thinking of this, third aunt's expression darkened. Grandfather Tang and Tang Yu quickly left. They had to make arrangements for the family and head to the ice palace, but they could not let the rest of the family suspect them. There were still many things to be arranged. In the resort, after taking a shower, Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo were chatting on the sofa. It feels like a dream. Thinking back to when you first transferred here and had a conflict with Zhong Pingliang. It is still fresh in my mind. In the blink of an eye, I have become a vice president of a company. This change is really big. Kong Xiaobo sighed. Hearing Kong Xiaobo's words, Lin Yi's heart was filled with emotions as well. Back then, he was just an ordinary assassin, or rather, a small bodyguard. In short, his job was similar to that of a bounty hunter, and his life was uncertain. But now not only did he have his own company, but he also had the strength to challenge the noble houses. This was unimaginable in the past. At that time, he was just a normal bodyguard protecting Yu Ning, the little princess of the hidden house Yu. Compared to Yu Ning, it felt like a cowherd and a weaver girl. But now, with a shake of his body, he dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. He stole a chi-gathering pill, and even dared to step on their representative in the common world, the common house Yu, and even asked them to send 2 concubines over. Life was like this, full of miracles and twists. No one could predict their own future. Xiaobo, have you thought about how to arrange for your university? Lin Yi asked. I don't know yet, but I think I will find an economics school, put my name on it, and get a certificate. Right now, I want to focus on managing the company. When the time comes, if I am not capable enough, I will study for an MBA in business management. Xiaobo said. But I did get Fun to sign up for a night university, so she can go study at night. She's different from me, she's better at quality inspection. I'm planning on getting her to get some certifications related to that, since our company needs people like that in the future. Target equals, _blank. Chapter 16:12. Alright, since you've made up your mind, I won't say anything else. Lin Yi nodded, a little regretful. It seemed like Kong Xiaobo had already walked on his own path. He couldn't spend his university years with Lin Yi anymore. Oh right, boss, Kong Mingming doesn't seem to have given up. I've seen him roping in people from the purchasing and quality control departments. It seems like he's also eyeing our painkiller formula. Kong Xiaobo said. Although the purchasing and quality control departments don't have a detailed formula, I'm still afraid that they'll leak something and let them research something. Don't worry about him. Lin Yi said faintly. The most important core technologies for painkillers are in your and Fatty Lai's hands. He can research the rest if he wants. Be careful not to explode. Huh. Kong Xiaobo was stunned. Didn't I tell you guys that I bought some other drugs together? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, after buying they were all stored in the warehouse. Kong Xiaobo nodded. Could it be? Those drugs, he put them together and made them explode. Lin Yi smiled. Boss, it can't be? You're really something. Kong Xiaobo wanted his men to be careful and not spill the beans, or he could just fire those who had contact with Kong Mingming. But after listening to Lin Yi's words, Kong Xiaobo was impressed. So boss, you had foresight. It's not foresight, it's just a coincidence. The medicinal ingredients that I asked you guys to buy are produced in small quantities every year. They're needed for the next drug that's on the market, so I bought them in advance. But if you mix them with the other ingredients, it'll easily explode. Lin Yi said. Kong Xiaobo clicked his tongue, sighing at Kong Ming's bad luck. The ingredients that he spent so much effort to get would probably explode after he made them. Then do we need to leak it to him? Kong Xiaobo asked after some hesitation. If he gives you money, just give him the list. Lin Yi smiled. Just like last time. Haha, okay. Kong Xiaobo was happy after getting Lin Yi's permission. Not only could he extort money from him, but he could also screw Kong Mingming over. Why not? In the other room, Mingyao and Yushu were whispering on the bed after they finished showering. Shu, how did you feel when you kissed Lin Yi today? Mingyao wanted to ask, but she was too shy to do so in front of Lin Yi. Hehe, Yarao sis, why don't you give it a try? Why should I give it a try? I would have done it if I wanted to. Mingyao blushed. I don't want to, that's why I'm asking you. Oh, actually you were the first one to kiss Shield Bro. Yao Yao, did you forget? You guys kissed indirectly. Yushu said. Mingyao's face darkened as she thought back to that indirect kiss. She'd only felt hatred and disgust for Linny back then. And that was why she'd reacted so strongly. But now that she thought about it, it didn't really matter. Linny didn't even care about her pee. Why would she care about Lin Yi's saliva? Mingyao's face reddened even more when she thought about that incident. That was the most shameful experience Mingyao had ever had in her life. What about that time? Mingyao coughed. Forget it. It's fine if you don't want to say it. Aya Yao Yao sis, don't be angry. I'll say it. Yushu looked at the blushing Mingyao. Whoa Yao Yao sis, are you shy? What are you talking about? It's because I'm hot. Mingyao argued. Are you going to say it or not? It's fine if you don't. Alright, I'll tell you. With that, Yushu planted a kiss on Mingyao's lips. Mingyao was still in a daze when Yushu said gleefully, that's it, now you get it, right? Mingyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are you the same as Linny? Hey Yao Yao sis, you should try it yourself. I really don't understand. Yushu stopped fooling around. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Mingyao waved her hand. Shu, do you really like Linny? Oh. Yushu started playing dumb again. What are you talking about? Answer me. Mingyao said sternly. Of course I like him. Don't you like him too, Yao Yao sis? Yushu said seriously. Don't drag me into this. Mingyao said. I'm asking you now. We'll talk about my stuff later. Then I like him. Yushu nodded. Then have you ever thought that Linny already has Tang Yin and Feng Xiaoxiao by his side? Mingyao seemed to be asking Yushu, but more importantly, it was a question she was asking herself. It was a question she had been struggling with. If she didn't reject him so much, would she be his girlfriend? Mingyao thought about it, but there was no answer. There was no if in this world. It was all in the past. There was no use in ifs. It's not like there's another me, right? Yushu didn't seem to understand what Mingyao meant at all. You won't be jealous? Mingyao had no choice. She could only ask more clearly. Jealous? Yushu shook her head. If I was jealous, why would I let you be the main wife, Yao Yao sis? Mingyao really didn't know how to communicate with Yushu's nonsensical answers. Sometimes Yushu looked smarter than anyone else, but other times, Yushu would just change the topic no matter how you tried to explain things to her. Yushu didn't want to understand. Sometimes, Mingyao really admired Yushu. This girl wasn't simple. She thought about what she wanted to think about, and didn't think about what she didn't want to think about at all. Yao Yao sis, I actually understand what you're saying. Yushu suddenly changed her tone, and put away the smile on her face. She said to Mingyao, but sometimes thinking too much is a kind of pain. Tomorrow will have its own troubles tomorrow. Why worry about tomorrow? It's fine as long as we're happy today. I don't want to think too much. But, what about your future? Is it really like what you said? Tang Yin will be the main wife, and you and Xiaoxiao will be the small wives. Mingyao felt a little dizzy. What would happen to her then? Future? That's too far. Yushu sighed and smiled. I don't want to think about it, hehe. *J. Chapter 16:13. The Mrs. Sick. Mingyao looked at the carefree Yushu and felt a little envious. Go to sleep, it's getting late. I heard that you have to go hiking tomorrow? Okay. Yushu nodded, smiling bitterly in her heart. Sometimes she didn't like being like this. It was around midnight when Yushu got up to go to the washroom. When she got up, she accidentally touched Mingyao's body. Yushu's body temperature was higher than a normal person's, but Mingyao had burned her. Yushu jumped in fright. Yao 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 Yao, what's wrong? Yushu touched Mingyao's forehead subconsciously. It was even scarier. Yushu quickly turned on the bedside lamp and dialed Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi was practicing when his phone rang. He quickly came back to reality and picked it up. Shu. Lin Yi paused when he saw the caller ID. Shu was calling him in the middle of the night. What was going on? Shield bro, come quick. Yao Yao, do you? Yushu couldn't catch her breath, and only got halfway through her sentence when Lin Yi jumped in shock. Yao Yao wants. And she wants him to come quick? Lin Yi couldn't help but think of some evil things. But thinking was just thinking. Lin Yi subconsciously thought that she was joking. After all, Lin Yi knew Meng Yao's character very well. She wouldn't ask Yushu to call him in the middle of the night. With the Mrs. Soft Skin, she wouldn't ask Yushu for help even if she wanted to do something. And so Lin Yi quickly said, "Shu, what's wrong? Take your time. What happened?" Yao sis. Yao sis is going to burn to death." Yushu took a deep breath and said, "Shield bro, come save her. She's having a fever." "I'll be right there." Lin Yi guessed that it wasn't the case. He quickly put on his coat and got ready to leave after hearing that Meng Yao was sick. At this time, Kong Xiaobo was also awakened. He opened his eyes in confusion and looked at Lin Yi. He asked curiously, "Boss, what's wrong?" "Yao is sick." "I'll go over and take a look." "You sleep," Lin Yi said to Kong Xiaobo. "Do you need my help?" Kong Xiaobo subconsciously asked. "It's fine." Lin Yi sighed. Meng Yao was a girl, after all, and it wouldn't be convenient for Kong Xiaobo to go. He and the miss, on the other hand, didn't have to avoid each other anymore. So much had happened after all. "All right, I'll wait here. If you need me to buy any medicine, just tell me, boss, and I'll go." Kong Xiaobo nodded. He rushed to Yushu's room and knocked on the door. It didn't take long for the door to open. Yushu was only wearing a thin silk pajamas, and her body was faintly discernible. Under the dim light, it made one's imagination run wild. However, Lin Yi only took one look and suppressed the evil thoughts in his heart. This kind of situation often happened at home, and Lin Yi had practiced to the point of turning a blind eye to it. It wasn't that Yushu didn't pay attention, but she made sure that there was only Lin Yi outside before opening the door. From her point of view, Lin Yi and Yao had already seen everything. What was there to avoid? Of course, if Kong Xiaobo had come with him, Yushu wouldn't have opened the door so quickly. "Shield bro, come quickly." Yushu closed the door and pulled Lin Yi into the room. Lin Yi followed Yushu into the room. Yushu wanted to turn on the light, but Lin Yi waved his hand and refused. This kind of dim bedside lamp was enough for Lin Yi to see clearly. There was no need to turn on the light, it would wake Meng Yao up. "No need to turn on the light, I'll take a look first." Lin Yi quickly walked to Meng Yao's bedside. Meng Yao was also wearing silk pajamas, very thin. Because Meng Yao was lying on the bed, the 2 points on her chest were faintly discernible. Lin Yi only glanced at them unintentionally, and it was hard for him to move his eyes away. Although Lin Yi spent a lot of time with them, he usually wouldn't go upstairs, and Meng Yao and Yushu wouldn't wear too revealing pajamas downstairs. But right now, Lin Yi's breathing was rapid. "Shield bro, you treat Yao first, you can look after her when she's better." Yushu quickly reminded when she saw where Lin Yi was looking at. Ahem. Lin Yi didn't expect his actions to be noticed by Yushu, and he was embarrassed. He coughed twice and tried to explain himself. "I'm just checking if there's anything wrong with Yao's chest. I hope it's not pneumonia or emphysema." Lin Yi was just bullshitting. He didn't have X-ray vision, so how could he have seen it? But it was enough to fool Yushu a little to ease the awkwardness. Oh, Yushu realized that she'd misunderstood Lin Yi. That's right. Shield bro can look at it anytime he wants. There's no need to look at it now. There's plenty of opportunities at home. "Shield bro, do you want me to take off Yao sis's clothes before you take a look? It's not good, right? It's not pneumonia." Pfft. Lin Yi almost fainted at Yushu's words. He quickly waved his hand. "Not yet, I'll take a look first." "Okay." Yushu was in too much of a rush, and didn't even realize that her words were inappropriate. Lin Yi took in a deep breath, calming himself down. He moved his eyes away and started feeling Meng Yao's pulse like a doctor. "It's just a cold," Lin Yi said with a sigh of relief. "It's not a big deal. Did she catch a cold today?" Yeah. Yao and I turned the air conditioner to the max when you were neutralizing the poison, shield bro. She might have caught a cold then," Yushu said after some thought. "It's been hard on you guys." Lin Yi sighed as he took out his needles and used his pure qi to disinfect the poison. He poked Yao's body a few times. "She'll be fine after a while. It's not a big deal." With that, Lin Yi picked up his phone and dialed Kong Xiaobo's number. "Boss, what do you need me to do?" Kong Xiaobo was on standby, so he picked up immediately after Lin Yi's call. "Go to the pharmacy in the resort, and buy a box of cold capsules. If you don't have any, grab some herbs yourself. Ephedra, cassia twig, bramble mustard, scutularia, bitter almond, notopterygium. Linny listed off a list of herbs. Okay, I'll go right now. Kong Xiaobo nodded. Chapter 16:14. There was really no problem, Lin. He didn't need to brew his own medicine for a common cold. This was a prescription that had been used for thousands of years. There was no need to change it at all. There were a lot of medicines out there. Linny would only brew his own if he didn't have any. Holy Halmingyao had been awake the whole time. She woke up when Shu told her that her body was burning up. But she had no energy and couldn't speak. Mingyao knew that Lin Yi's eyes were on her chest. The miss was embarrassed and angry at the same time. She almost fainted. But in her heart, there was a trace of joy. Did his chest look so good? Was it better than Shu's big cow? Otherwise, why would Linny stare at her and not Yushu? How was she compared to Tang Yin? Eldest young miss was having a fever, and her mind liked to let her imagination run wild. The more she thought things that Mingyao normally wouldn't think about when she was in a rational state of mind were all surging into her mind at this moment. But she was a little disappointed when he said that he was checking for pneumonia. Was he really checking for pneumonia? But that gaze didn't seem to be as simple as checking for pneumonia. Mingyao could clearly feel the color of a pervert in that gaze. But not only was Mingyao not angered by the pervert's gaze, she was even a little happy. Mingyao didn't even have time to think about it before the needles pierced into her body. Mingyao felt a cooling sensation all over her body, and it didn't feel as hot anymore. Looking at Lin Yi, Mingyao's half-closed eyes became blurry. 7*, shield bro, is that it? Is it just a simple cold? Yushu let out a sigh of relief when she heard that it was just a cold. Yeah, it's just a cold. Lin Yi nodded. Do you think it's something serious? Right, didn't you have the air conditioner in the afternoon? Do you feel any discomfort? Let me check for you. Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Shu was there too. If she caught a cold, then she should be treated as soon as possible. Yushu didn't seem to have any problems right now, but things like colds had different incubation periods. Some people would get sick right away, while others might take a whole day to react. Me? I'm fine. My body temperature's a little higher than a normal person's, and the heat doesn't affect me at all. Yushu blinked, but a strange light flashed through her eyes. Alright. Shield bro, hurry up and give me a checkup. Check if I'm sick. Heh. Lin Yi smiled and said, give me your hand. Yushu reached out. Do I need to take off my clothes? My breasts are bigger than Yao Yao sis. If I don't take them off, shield bro won't be able to see clearly, right? I don't want to get pneumonia. Lin Yi slipped and nearly fell to the ground. He rubbed his nose and bitterly smiled. There's no need for that. Your symptoms don't match, so there shouldn't be any. 7*. Oh. Yushu nodded, not too disappointed. She looked at Lin Yi a little anxiously. Shield bro, is there something wrong with me? No. Lin Yi gave Yushu a simple checkup. She didn't have any symptoms of a cold. You're very healthy. Your body is a little better than Yao Yao's. Ah. I'm not sick. Yushu breathed out in relief. Shield bro, did you check me thoroughly? Of course. Lin Yi smiled. I can tell with one glance if it's a simple illness like this. What if I have other complicated illnesses? Yushu reached out her hand again. Shield bro, do you want to check me again? See if there are any other illnesses? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he still held Yushu's wrist and gave it a checkup. He shook his head. There's really nothing wrong, there's no pneumonia. Oh. Yushu was a little disappointed. Then do I need to take off my clothes and check again? No need, Lin Yi said. Mingyao, who was lying on the bed, was very unhappy when she heard Yushu's words. What did she mean by Yao Yao's breasts were small, and she had big breasts? This Yushu was asking for a beating. Yushu was about to say something when someone knocked on the door. Lin Yi turned to Yushu. Wait here, I'll go open the door. It was probably Kong Xiaobo who came to deliver the medicine. It wasn't a good time for Yushu to show herself. Lin Yi opened the door. It was indeed Kong Xiaobo. Boss, the medicine is here. Kong Xiaobo was about to go in, but he hesitated. He passed the medicine to Lin Yi and said, I'll go back first. Okay, thanks. Linny nodded and returned to the room with the medicine. He fed the medicine to Meng Yao and put away the silver needles. Shu, you should rest early too. Yao Yao is fine. She'll be fine when she wakes up tomorrow morning. Okay. Yushu knew that Lin Yi was leaving and waved at Lin Yi. After taking the medicine, Meng Yao fell asleep very quickly. The next morning, when Meng Yao woke up, she felt refreshed. She didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Thinking back, it was like a dream. If it wasn't for the box of flu soft capsules on the bedside, Meng Yao would have thought that everything was just a dream. Looking at Shu, who was sleeping soundly, Meng Yao didn't want to disturb her. She knew that Shu was busy last night and didn't sleep well, so she wanted to let her sleep a little longer. After some hesitation, Miss picked up her phone and sent a message to Lin Yi, but it was only 2 words. Thank you. Lin Yi looked at the message in his hand and couldn't help but smile. Mrs. Personality. He replied casually. Don't forget to take your medicine in the morning. Meng Yao didn't reply again. It was obvious that she went to take her medicine. It was around 8 o'clock and Shu woke up. Seeing that there was no one beside her, she said in a daze, Yao Yao sis? Shu, you're awake? Meng Yao had just taken her medicine, so she went to wash up and put on her clothes. Ugh, Yao Yao sis, you're better? Yushu rubbed her eyes and sat up. What time is it? Didn't you say we're going hiking today? Can we make it in time? It's still early, it's only 8 o'clock. Didn't you say we'll meet at 9? Meng Yao said, thank you for yesterday. Yao Yao sis, why are you thanking me? Yushu said, thank you for Shield Bro. Yao Yao sis, Shield Bro has saved you so many times. Have you ever thought about repaying him with your body? You better take off your clothes and let him check his body. Meng Yao curled her lips. Chapter 16:15. Chapter 16:14. A plan of coincidence. Ah? Yao Yao, you heard everything? Yushu thought that Meng Yao had been asleep the whole night. I'm not deaf. Meng Yao smiled. The two joked around for a while before putting on their clothes and leaving the room, going to the lobby downstairs. Most of the students were already there, including Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo. Meng Yao and Yushu walked over and Lin Yi said, there's free breakfast over there, do you guys want some? Xiaobo and I already ate. Nope, Shu and I just had some bread. Meng Yao shook her head. She had just recovered from a serious illness, and her appetite wasn't very good. Pinliang and Xiaofu's room. You always drop the ball at critical moments, kid. How did Meng Yao's tag end up in Lin Yi's hands? What did you do? Didn't I tell you to put it in the box? Pinliang saw how disgusted Xiaofu was yesterday, but he didn't lose his temper, holding it in until this morning. Liang bro, it's not my fault, I don't know what happened either. I did put the tag in the box. Who knew how it ended up in Lin Yi's hands? Xiaofu said with a bitter face. Liang bro, I'm the unlucky one in the end. How could I make things difficult for myself? You're right. Pinliang waved his hand and sighed. That Lin Yi is a mystic. He might have some special tricks up his sleeves that we don't know about. I wanted to get closer to Meng Yao yesterday. Liang bro, should we go to plan B? Xiaofu saw the reluctance on Pinliang's face. He knew that Pinliang's lifelong dream was to be close to Meng Yao, and even though he knew that it was impossible for them to be together, it was still a grudge buried deep in Pinliang's heart. He didn't want to give it up. Plan B? Isn't it a little dangerous? Pinliang knew about Xiaofu's second plan, but he felt that it was more dangerous. Holy Hall, it's nothing. I've already inquired about it beforehand. There are people selling grass snakes nearby. They don't have any poison. When the time comes, I'll be the bad guy, and you'll be the good guy. Gao Xiaofu said. For Liang Ji, I don't mind doing some evil things. That's fine too. Pinliang thought about it. As long as he didn't come into contact with snakes, he wouldn't have to worry about getting bitten. Don't worry, Liang bro. I'll just pretend that I let the snake bite Meng Yao by accident, and you'll be able to get intimate with her after you give her the drug. Xiaofu said. Lin Yi won't get the first one, will he? Pinliang was worried. Nope, when we get to the top of the mountain later, you'll teach everyone about first aid if they get bitten by a snake. I'll go with you, and when Meng Yao gets bitten, you'll be the first one to rush to her rescue. It shouldn't be a problem, Xiaofu said. All right. Then it's settled. Pinliang nodded, gritting his teeth. After the planning was done, The two went downstairs and organized everyone to climb the mountain behind the resort. Liang Bro and I will lead everyone up the mountain later, but please be careful. There might be grass snakes on the mountain, but grass snakes aren't poisonous. There might be venomous snakes too, so if you get bitten by a grass snake or a venomous snake, please inform me or Liang Bro immediately. Xiaofu said. Liang Bro was worried that something might happen to you guys, so he learned some first aid knowledge in the wild, including how to deal with a snake bite. Liang Bro is now a professional drug user, and he can suck out snake venom in no time. Liang Bro really cares about us. The students were all touched by Xiaofu's words. They didn't expect Pinliang to not only spend money to invite them here, but he was also so thoughtful. Lin Yi listened to Xiaofu's words, a faint look of confusion flashing in his eyes. He didn't know what this guy was up to this time. Behind the resort was a small mountain. It wasn't too tall, and it was half man-made, half natural. But for this resort, it was a good place to relax. Today, Boss Zhu deliberately found an excuse to bring Chunxi to the mountain behind the resort. The reason was very simple. The people who climbed the mountain must have brought a lot of drinks. After drinking, they could pick up a lot of mineral water bottles and drink bottles. Chunxi used to follow Boss Zhu to the beach, amusement park, and other places to pick up scraps on the weekends, so she didn't suspect anything this time. Moreover, it was said that selling grass snakes here could earn a lot of money. There were many local villagers selling grass snakes near the mountain. Grass snakes weren't poisonous, and many tourists bought them as pets to play with, so the sales were quite good. Boss Zhu had asked about this before, and that was why he decided to sell grass snakes here. After thinking about it, he realized that it wasn't easy to get a grass snake that had eaten the 5-step powder to bite Lin Yi. It was a bit complicated, so it was easier to get Lin Yi to buy a grass snake and bite him. Of course, Boss Zhu was afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't buy the snake from him, so he had Sihua bring a bunch of gangsters over to threaten and bribe them, chasing away all the other villagers who were selling the snakes. So Boss Zhu became the only one selling grass snakes here. Boss Zhu wasn't afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't buy it, either. Since he knew Chunxi, he should at least show some support since she was selling snakes here, right? Of course, Boss Zhu wasn't afraid that the grass snake wouldn't bite Lin Yi, because other than the 5-step powder, he also fed it another kind of medicine, which made the grass snakes go crazy and bite people as soon as they were caught. Grandpa Zhu selling grass snakes, can we earn money? Chunxi was a bit puzzled. They had never done any other business other than picking up scraps, but this time, Grandpa Zhu was selling grass snakes for the first time, which made Chunxi feel strange. Yes. It's okay if we don't earn money, we can just try. This grass snake is a gift from your grandpa's friend anyway, it's free, Boss Zhu said. Oh, that's good. Chunxi nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Pinliang and Xiaofu walked in front, and the rest of the class followed behind. Xiaofu looked at the street along the way, and noticed that there were quite a few souvenir vendors, but there were no vendors selling grass snakes. Xiaofu was puzzled. Something wasn't right? There were a lot of grass snakes on the street when he came to investigate, but why weren't there any today? Could it be that these people couldn't catch a single snake? Or was it bought by a restaurant to make a snake feast? Chapter 16:16. But no matter how hard Xiaofu looked, he couldn't find a single snake stall. Xiaofu, what's wrong with you? Didn't you say there was a snake? We've been walking for so long, why haven't we seen a single one? Pinliang's face wasn't looking too well. The plan was all set, but the props were gone. Liang Bro, there really were a lot of snakes before. Why aren't there any today? Gao Xiaofu said with a bitter face. You saw it the last time we came here for an inspection. The streets were full of snakes. Pinliang had indeed seen snakes last time, but he was still feeling uneasy. He humphed coldly. Why are you always dropping the ball at the most critical moments? What's going on? Keep looking. There must be. Xiaofu wiped the sweat off his forehead, a little ashamed. Liang Bro, don't worry, I promise I'll find. Forget it, if there's really nothing then it's fine. Pinliang waved his hand helplessly, thinking that he'd just have to endure it for now. Once Zhang Naipeo came back, he'd crush Lin Yi beneath his feet, and Mengyao would be his, wouldn't she? No one would be able to protect her then. Even Zhang Wen was just a small character in front of an ancient sect like Pao Zi. There's a snake stall over there. Gao Xiaofu suddenly saw a stall not far away. It was an old man with a little girl, and they were touching snakes there. Oh, there really is? Pinliang looked in the direction Xiaofu was pointing, and saw the snake stall as well. He quickly said, "Then why aren't you going? You want to bring a snake back?" "Yes." Xiaofu quickly ran over to the snake stall, speaking to the old man. "Hey, how did you do that?" Boss Zhu's goal here was to give the snakes to Lin Yi, not to anyone else, so he didn't set up his stall earlier, watching Lin Yi's group from afar before setting up his stall. He didn't think that someone would come along and try to steal the snakes. The snakes had been tampered with, so why would Boss Zhu give them to Xiaofu? He was just about to say no, but then he thought about it. If he said no, wouldn't Chen-Shi be suspicious? With that thought, Boss Zhu could only say, 2,000 a snake. What? Gao Xiaofu was stunned. What do you mean by 2,000 per snake? Did he think they were gold-plated snakes? He'd done some research before, and a snake was only 10 or 20 kwai. How could it be 2,000 a snake? Wasn't he trying to cheat them? 2,000 a snake. Don't be a nuisance if you don't want to. Boss Zhu saw that Lin Yi and the others were coming, and he didn't want to waste time with Xiaofu. He wanted to chase him away as soon as possible. Fermented, you old bastard. You're really evil. Xiaofu wanted to bargain, but he didn't expect the old man to chase him away. Xiaofu didn't know what to do. He thought to himself, 2,000 it is, since this old man was the only one here. Fine. 2,000. Here you go. Xiaofu took out his wallet, took out 2,000 kwai, and threw it on the stall. He didn't have time to waste with the old man, and Mengyao was about to come over. 2,000 and you dare to cheat? Boss Zhu was so angry that he wanted to curse. You're a spendthrift, aren't you? You have nowhere to spend your money, right? Spending 2,000 for a damn snake? You can hire people to go up the mountain and catch a basket of them for you. Chen-Shi's eyes widened. She didn't expect a snake to be worth 2,000 kwai. Previously, when Zhu Yinya quoted this price, Chen-Shi was shocked, thinking that Zhu Yinya might have said something wrong. This snake was a gift from someone else, and it didn't cost anything. There was no cost. Besides, even if it was a snake, it wouldn't be this expensive. She wanted to question the price, but this old man in front of her really did it. Why do you have so much bullshit to say, you old man? Here's the money, give me the snake. Xiaofu was furious. It was one thing for this old man to cheat, but now he didn't even want to cheat after taking the money? Was it too little? It's so expensive, and you're even cheating? Boss Zhu was speechless. Why did he have to meet a mental patient at such a crucial time? Old man, are you crazy? Fine, I'll take it myself. Gao Xiaofu ignored Boss Zhu. He directly took out a snake from his snake box, turned around, and left. If Boss Zhu wanted to stop Gao Xiaofu, it was not too late. With his earth-ranked skills, stopping Gao Xiaofu was a piece of cake. However, the problem was that Lin Yi was not far away. If he revealed his strength and was discovered by Lin Yi, then his future plans would not work. Therefore, he could only watch as Xiaofu took away a snake. He sighed in his heart. It seemed that he would not be able to complete his plan today. Gao Xiaofu had studied the snake before, and he had also inquired about the characteristics of the snake. He knew how to hold the snake. The snake wouldn't bite, and he also knew how to stimulate the snake to make it bite. However, when he happily ran back with the snake, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his arm. When he looked down, he found that the snake had bitten him. Ah! Xiaofu screamed in pain. He couldn't understand why the snake would suddenly bite him. Previously, he had specially learned how to catch a snake from those people, but today, it was ineffective. He didn't know that Boss Zhu had fed the snake and turned it into a crazy snake. Gao Xiaofu felt the pain and subconsciously threw the snake away. The snake whizzed into the thicket on the mountain and disappeared. The bite wound on Xiaofu's arm was swollen as if he had been poisoned. Looking at his arm, Gao Xiaofu was shocked. Aren't these snakes supposed to have no D*ck? Even if he was bitten, there shouldn't be such an obvious reaction. Could it be that it was a poisonous snake that bit him? While Liangzi, Xiaofu was bitten by a snake. Hurry up and help him, Yushu said excitedly when she saw Xiaofu jumping in pain. Hurry up and show me how to save him. Ah. Pinliang froze as well. He never would have thought that Xiaofu would get bitten by a snake, not by a snake, but by a poison snake, no less. Pinliang, hurry up and take a look. What should we do? Aren't you a professional in dealing with poisonous snakes? The other students remembered Xiaofu's words before they left, so they quickly turned to Pinliang. Yeah, Zhong Pinliang, look, Gao Xiaofu looks like he's in a lot of pain. Hurry up and help him get the snake out. You're the only one among us who knows how to do this. Another student said anxiously. Chapter 16-17. Ugh. Pinliang didn't know what to do. If he went, he was afraid that the snake was venomous. What would happen to him if he sucked the venom into his mouth? But if he didn't go, he'd already let Xiaofu brag about it, and Xiaofu was his brother. He wouldn't be able to raise his head in the eyes of others if he didn't care for his brother. Zhang Naipeo was loyal to him, but that was also the result of him putting on a show. This time, it was Gao Xiaofu's turn. If he could help Xiaofu suck the venom, then Xiaofu would be even more loyal to him in the future. Pinliang, on the other hand, saw that Xiaofu wasn't dead or unconscious after all this time. The venom probably wasn't that strong, so he gritted his teeth and charged over. In fact, the 5-step dispersing powder didn't cause much harm to ordinary people other than cultivators. At most, it would just cause some swelling. However, the drug that Boss Zhu added to make the poisonous snake crazy was harmful to the human body. After it entered the human body, if it wasn't removed quickly, it would cause shortness of breath and increase heartbeat. There was even a risk of suffocation and fainting. However, this was only for ordinary people. For cultivators, this kind of poison didn't have much effect, because cultivators' resistance was relatively strong. Heart and so, the unlucky Xiaofu started twitching and breathing heavily after a few cries of pain. Pinliang jumped when he saw this. Oh my god, could it be that the snake venom is acting up? There had to be something lethal in the venom. But Pinliang was scared, and he was already beside Xiaofu. If he went back on his words now, he'd lose even more face. Losing face was a small thing, but it wouldn't be good if Xiaofu was unhappy with him. Pao wasn't with him right now, and Xiaofu was the only person Pinliang could use. Plus, if he really didn't save Xiaofu and Naipeo found out about this, what would Naipeo think? Pinliang felt that Naipeo was loyal to him, and nothing would happen to him. But he was afraid that the stronger Naipeo got, the harder it would be to control him. Winning over people's hearts was the only way. Back then, he had relied on winning people's hearts to make Naipeo loyal to him. At that thought, Pinliang pounced at Xiaofu without hesitation. Grabbing Xiaofu's arm that was bitten by the snake and starting sucking on the wound with his mouth, Gao Xiaofu was instantly moved to tears. If he could, he'd rather suck snake venom himself than let Pinliang take the risk. However, he was bitten by the snake on the back of his arm near his shoulder. He wasn't a giraffe, so it was impossible for him to suck on that part. He could only rely on others to help him. Brother Liang, you really treat us subordinates too well. I finally understand why Pao Zi is so loyal. Gao Xiaofu was touched. Brother Liang really didn't care about his own safety. Last night, Gao Xiaofu was still a little dissatisfied with the fact that Liang Gu asked him to play safe kisses with the 2 fat girls. He felt that Liang Gu was using him as a shield. But now, it seemed that he still had to rely on Liang Gu in critical moments. It was normal for Liang Gu to ask his lackeys to do something harmless like last night, but when something really big happened, Liang Gu was the first one to rush up. Gao Xiaofu swore to himself that he would become Liang Ji's right-hand man like Pao Zi, helping Liang Gu fight his enemies. Pinliang spat out a few mouthfuls of snake venom, his lips swollen into the shape of sausages. Wow, Liang Yi's mouth is so cool. It's like a butt. Yushu laughed at Pinliang's condition. 7 asterisk. Pfft. A student who was drinking water spat it out, almost choking to death. The rest of the people laughed along with him. Pinliang was pissed as he glared at Yushu hatefully. He swore to himself. You big cow, I'll play you to death one day. That's what you get for messing with me and humiliating me. But now, Pinliang still had to suck the snake venom for Gao Xiaofu. Grandpa Zhu, something's wrong. That grass snake, why did it bite? It's poisonous too? Chen Shi said worriedly as she looked at Gao Xiaofu and Pinliang. Yeah, it looks like it's poisonous. Let's run, we don't want to get into trouble. Boss Zhu's face was a little gloomy. A good plan had been ruined by the sudden appearance of Gao Xiaofu. This made Boss Zhu so angry that he wanted to slap this brat to death. But there was nothing he could do under everyone's watchful eyes. The only thing he could do now was to leave and think of other ways to mess with Lin Yi later. Gao Xiaofu had been bitten by a snake, and if he sold the snake to Lin Yi wouldn't buy it. He wouldn't take it even if it was free. However, just as Boss Zhu was about to escape with Chen Shi, he caught a glimpse of the 2,000 yuan that Gao Xiaofu had thrown on top of the bamboo basket. Boss Zhu was overjoyed, and a good plan came to his mind. Boss Zhu looked at Chen Shi with bad intentions, and then pretended to take the money, but he accidentally knocked the money into the bamboo basket, and it fell together with the grass snakes. Grandpa Zhu, the money fell. Chen Shi saw that Boss Zhu had accidentally dropped the money into the bamboo basket. Quick, pick it up and let's go. We don't want the snake anymore. Boss Zhu said to Chen Shi. This money, shouldn't it be returned to the person who bought the snake? Chen Shi was a bit hesitant. She was a kind person. Now that the snake had bitten someone, if she took the money and left, wouldn't that be a bit too unkind? Although it was a transaction between two parties, and one was willing to buy and the other was willing to sell, Chen Shi felt that she was in the wrong and didn't want the money, even though it wasn't a small amount. Then pick it up and return it to him. We'll run. Boss Zhu didn't care. As long as Chen Shi picked up the money, he didn't care if she returned the money or not. Okay. Chen Shi reached out to pick up the money, but she didn't expect that when her hand touched the money in the bamboo basket, she screamed. Her hand had been bitten by the snake in the bamboo basket. Chen Shi subconsciously pulled her hand out, but the wound on her hand was bleeding, and it swelled up instantly. Chen Shi was scared and didn't know what to do. Xiaoxi, why are you so careless? Boss Zhu pretended to be anxious and screamed. What should we do? What should we do? There's no doctor here, Xiaoxi. Stand here and don't move. Grandpa will go to the nearby health center to find a doctor for you. Chapter 16:18. After that, Zhu Laoda ran down the mountain without bringing Chen Shi along. Zhu Laoda had a good plan in his mind. He was very proud of his impromptu plan. Didn't Lin Yi know Chen Shi? Are they close? Now that I'm gone, you can't just leave Chen Shi alone, right? You're the only one here who knows her, so you can help her suck out the snake venom. When you suck out the snake venom, the 5-step powder will also be sucked into your mouth. Even if you spit it out, it'll be useless. The medicine will be absorbed instantly. Lin Yi had been watching the whole thing unfold. First of all, Chen Shi and Zhu Laoda selling snakes here made Lin Yi feel strange. Zhu Laoda had bad intentions, Lin Yi knew that. But what surprised Lin Yi was that after a few days, Zhu Laoda became an Earth-class master. Of course, Lin Yi didn't think that Chen Shi was in cahoots with Zhu Laoda. First of all, Lin Yi knew Chen Shi's personality. Second, Zhu Laoda wanted to harm Chen Shi's mother, so Chen Shi wouldn't be in cahoots with him. If Zhu Laoda was a poor scavenger like Chen Shi, then selling grass snakes here, Lin Yi wouldn't find it strange. But Zhu Laoda was an Earth-class master, selling grass snakes here. This was a bit strange. Before, when Gao Xiaofu went to buy the snake, Zhu Laoda didn't want to sell it. This was also seen by Lin Yi, so Lin Yi felt that there might be a problem with the snake. Now that Gao Xiaofu was bitten, the wound was swollen, and his breathing was rapid, it proved this point. With Lin Yi's experience of living in the wild, this type of grass snake was not poisonous, so it was impossible for it to have the symptoms Gao Xiaofu had. Zhu Laoda saw that Chen Shi was bitten, but not only did he not save her, but he also ran away. This made Lin Yi smell a conspiracy. Chen Shi's face became more and more unsightly, and her breathing became more rapid. It looked like she could not hold on any longer, and was about to faint on the ground. Of course, everyone's attention was on Gao Xiaofu and Pinliang. No one paid attention to Chen Shi. Lin Yi sighed. It seemed like he was forced to make a move. As for Zhu Laoda's intentions, Lin Yi more or less guessed it. If Lin Yi didn't know that Boss Zhu was an Earth class, he wouldn't have thought so much about it. But now that he thought about Boss Zhu's actions, he realized how fake it was. Lin Yi didn't know what Boss Zhu's goal was, but it was true that he wanted to harm Chen Shi and her daughter. Lin Yi didn't know Boss Zhu's background and goal, so he didn't act rashly. Zhu Laochen, he said. Lin Xiao Laoda is. Lin Shi Shi Lin Laoda Chen, Lin Chen Lin 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 Lao Shi Lin said Lin. Lin Yi bro. Chen Shi blushed when she saw Lin Yi suddenly appear. She was a little shy, and her breathing became more rapid. She was surprised and happy. "Linny bro, you're here too?" "Yeah." Linny quickly took out his silver needles and sealed a few acupuncture points on Chun-Chi's body to prevent the poison from spreading. He then grabbed Chun-Chi's finger and started sucking. Linny didn't think much about it. After all, normal poisons didn't have much effect on Linny. Linny also saw Zhang Naipeo and Pinliang's situation. Both of them seemed to have been poisoned a little, but they hadn't fainted yet. This meant that the poison wasn't too strong. And so Linny used his mouth to help Chun-Chi suck the poison. Of course, when Linny touched Chun-Chi's wound, the jade gave a warning. Linny didn't mind. It was normal for the jade to give a warning. Chun-Chi saw Linny sucking the poison for her, and felt a little shy. She felt very sweet inside. Chun-Chi had always lived at the bottom of society, barely having enough to eat. She didn't have the heart to think about love. In school, Chun-Chi was pretty, but with a big sis like Ziyu protecting her, no one dared to do anything to her. As a result, Chun-Chi's life had been very peaceful, and there were no disturbances in her life. But which girl didn't want love? In the dead of night, Chun-Chi would occasionally fantasize that a Prince Charming would appear in front of her in the future. However, this Prince Charming really did appear in Chun-Chi's life. From the first time Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao helped her, to the time Lin Yi took care of her family, Chun-Chi had a good impression of Lin Yi from the bottom of her heart. But Chun-Chi knew that Lin Yi had a girlfriend, and that the girlfriend was very pretty. How could Chun-Chi do anything to hurt Xiao Xiao? And so, although Ziyu saw through her feelings, she still buried it deep in her heart. She didn't dare say it out loud, and could only think about it occasionally. Chun-Chi's wound affected her nerves, and the pain made her moan. But after the moan, Chun-Chi's face turned red. Would Lin Yi think that it was something else? Or would he think that she was seducing him? Girls were fragile, and she was afraid that Lin Yi would look down on her. In reality, it was just a moan of pain. What would Lin Yi think of? It was really Chun-Chi who was worrying about nothing. Lin Yi sucked out the poisonous blood from Chun-Chi's wound and spat it on the ground. He wanted to take out some medicine to stop the bleeding, but the next moment, Lin Yi's face turned ugly. Because Lin Yi suddenly felt that the qi in his body was like a leaking balloon, quickly disappearing. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi went from late phase peak to mystic peak, and it didn't seem to stop. The qi was still disappearing. Late phase, mid-phase peak, mid-phase. In just a short amount of time, Lin Yi had become a mystic mid-phase. There was something wrong with the snake venom. Lin Yi thought of the snake venom immediately. After all, the only thing he had contact with was the snake venom in Chun-Chi's body. So the person who did this had to be Boss Zhu. Could it be that Boss Zhu wanted to harm him? That was possible. If he didn't suddenly get involved in Chun-Chi's family's life, Chun-Chi's mother would probably be dead already. Although Lin Yi didn't know what Boss Zhu's goal was, he'd clearly ruined his plan, so it was normal for him to do something to him. Lin Yi bro, what's wrong? Chun-Chi saw that Lin Yi's face didn't look too good all of a sudden, and she jumped in fright. Could it be that her moan really made Lin Yi think that she was trying to seduce him? Chapter 16:19. Chun-Chi was a little scared. Lin Yi big bro, I was in a bit of pain just now so I screamed. I didn't mean it. It's nothing. Lin Yi paused, not understanding what Chun-Chi was talking about. He waved his hand. The poison in your body should be fine now. I'll apply some injury medicine and your wound will be healed. Fortunately, this wasn't the first time that Lin Yi had lost his strength. Lin Yi didn't look too good, but he didn't go crazy. After Chun-Chi's question, Lin Yi returned to normal. He was a practitioner, so he would lose strength. Pinliang, Gao Xiaofu, and Chun-Chi obviously weren't practitioners, so naturally, they wouldn't have this problem. Lin Yi wasn't worried at all. After applying the injury medicine, Chun-Chi's wound was no longer swollen, but Lin Yi's strength was slipping away rapidly. Thank you, Lin Yi big bro. Feeling the coolness of her wound, Chun-Chi knew that she was fine. She knew that Lin Yi was a skilled healer. He could even cure her mother's terminal illness, so this snake venom was nothing to him. But she didn't know that Lin Yi had lost all his strength in order to suck the snake venom for her. Pinliang, on the other hand, had finished sucking the snake venom for Gao Xiaofu. He saw that Lin Yi had injury medicine and wanted to ask for some, but he was too embarrassed to ask. He was afraid that Lin Yi would reject him. After all, Lin Yi must have known about the drugging scene last night. Lin Yi saw Pinliang's pleading look and smiled faintly. He tossed the injury medicine to him. Although Lin Yi didn't like Pinliang's apology yesterday was done in front of everyone, so the students didn't know about it. It was fine if Lin Yi was being stingy, but he was with Meng Yao, Yushu and Kong Xiaobo. Lin Yi didn't want to embarrass them, so he didn't care about something as innocuous as this. Pinliang was surprised by Lin Yi's actions, but after thinking about it, he understood what was going on. He nodded silently, and went to apply the medicine for Gao Xiaofu. When they were done, Boss Zhu ran up, panting. Behind him was a doctor in a white coat. No one knew where he got him from. Lin Yi curled his lips. With this speed, Chenxi would have fainted by the time he got back. An Earth-class master running slower than a normal person? Who would believe that? But Lin Yi didn't expose him. At this moment, Lin Yi just wanted to find a quiet place to recover his strength. Right now, Lin Yi wasn't a match for Boss Zhu. Even a normal practitioner wouldn't be a match for him, because Lin Yi's strength had dropped from Mystic to Golden class. Lin Yi looked at Boss Zhu, who was acting as if nothing had happened. He turned to Chenxi. Go back and rest well, I'll be leaving first. Okay, goodbye Lin Yi big bro. Chenxi didn't want to leave, but she had no reason to keep Lin Yi. Holy Hall goodbye. Lin Yi didn't have any intention of meeting Boss Zhu face to face. He took the opportunity to leave before Boss Zhu arrived. Boss Zhu? Just wait and see. This time I've been tricked by you, we'll settle this later. When the noble house meeting is over, I'll have plenty of time to play with you. Lin Yi turned around and walked to Meng Yao, Yushu and Kong Xiaobo's side. On the other side, Gao Xiaofu was bitten by the snake, and Pinliang's mouth was swollen like a sausage. Naturally, no one wanted to continue climbing the mountain, and they were discussing how to go back. Pinliang and Xiaofu looked fine, but they still wanted to go to the hospital for a checkup. They didn't want any poison left in their bodies, and it would affect them in the future. And so, the group walked down the mountain. Lin Yi said goodbye to Kong Xiaobo, and drove back to Songshan with Meng Yao and Yushu. Shield bro, aren't we going somewhere else to play? Yushu wasn't satisfied. It was rare for them to come out and play, but because of the snake, they had to end the reunion in a hurry. Lin Yi doesn't seem to be feeling well, don't mess around. The miss was more attentive, and she could see the displeasure on Lin Yi's face. She asked with concern, Lin Yi, what's wrong? What's wrong? There's something wrong with the snake venom, and my strength is rapidly disappearing. I'm only at the early phase of Golden class now, and it's still dropping. Lin Yi didn't hide anything and told the truth to Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin Yi didn't need to hide anything from the people around him. They wouldn't sell him out. Ah. Meng Yao was shocked. Your strength is gone again? What do we do? Can you recover? You're not going to leave again this time, are you? I should be able to recover. There's no need for me to leave. Lin Yi was amused by Meng Yao's words, and a smile appeared on his dark face. But this poison is really strange, and we don't even know who the culprit is, or which force they're from. That's good. Meng Yao breathed in relief. That Chenxi. You know her? Is she trying to harm you? It wasn't strange that Meng Yao would misunderstand Chenxi. After all, it was too much of a coincidence. No matter how she looked at it, it seemed like Chenxi was working with Lin Yi. Yeah, I know her, but it's not her. Lin Yi could basically confirm that Chenxi was innocent, and the problem was that Boss Zhu. Chenxi, on the other hand, was just a poor victim. And so Lin Yi told Meng Yao and Yushu how he met Chenxi. Ah, so that's how we met. She's such a poor girl. Meng Yao couldn't help but feel sympathetic after hearing about Chenxi's background. That Ying Ziyu, who is she? Lin Yi mentioned Ying Ziyu a bit when he was talking about Chenxi, so Meng Yao asked about her. Ying Ziyu. Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh at the mention of the girl. You guys know what I used to do, I'm a mercenary. Otherwise, Uncle Chu wouldn't have hired me to protect you guys. Yeah, I know, you're an assassin and bodyguard. Yushu nodded. Ah, something like that. Lin Yi nodded. Ying Ziyu's brother was one of my subordinates when I was a mercenary. He was my comrade in arms fighting alongside me. Lin Yi told Meng Yao and Yushu about the pangolin. This was Lin Yi's secret, and Lin Yi wouldn't tell anyone about it. Target =_. Chapter 1620. The Heart. Chapter 1619. Very strange, but Mingyao and Yushu were now the closest people to Lin Yi outside of Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao, so naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't hide this from them. Holy Church, huh? Her brother was your comrade. And he's probably sacrificed himself. That girl is so pitiful. Mingyao felt that Ziyu was even more pitiful than Chen Shi. She didn't even have a family left. You're saying that we should send them to Songshan's first school? I'll have to talk to Faubert and ask him to take care of them. The Miss still had the authority to do this, and while Lin Yi could do it, it was still good to let the Miss do some good deeds. Since she knew that Lin Yi's strength was disappearing, Yushu didn't mention anything about going elsewhere anymore. She sat in the car and went straight back to House Chu's villa. Boss, you're back so early? How was it? Did you have fun? Chen Tian was in charge of the house. He was now a follower, bodyguard, and housekeeper. He was probably by Lin Yi's side, becoming Faubert's number 2. I need to go into isolation. You're in charge of the safety of the house. Lin Yi waved his hand, not replying to Chen Tian. Don't disturb me during this time. Yes. Chen Tian didn't understand, but seeing how serious Lin Yi was, he didn't ask. He nodded seriously. Boss, don't worry. Leave the house to me. The Heart. Lin Yi had 100% confidence in Chen Tian, and after that, he quickly went into his room and closed the door. Sisters-in-law, what's going on with Lin Yi's boss? Is he breaking through? Chen Tian asked after Lin Yi entered the room. Lin Yi's in some trouble. I think he's been poisoned. His strength's gone and he needs to recover. Mingyao didn't want to hide anything from Chen Tian, but she didn't know much. She told him what Lin Yi had told her. Boss's strength disappeared again? But Chen Tian didn't mind. Then it should be fine. Boss healed me when I was crippled, so he must have his own ways. I hope so. Mingyao nodded as she prayed for Lin Yi, hoping that nothing bad would happen to him. When Lin Yi returned to his room, the strength in his body had completely disappeared. At this time, he was no different from an ordinary person. Lin Yi had never thought that this snake's venom would be so overbearing that it could actually disperse a cultivator's Zhen Qi. Although Lin Yi had heard of similar poisons before, they were considered to be unorthodox, and Lin Yi hadn't done any research on them. Now that he had encountered it, he really didn't know how to deal with it. Fortunately, Lin Yi had the jade as a cheat, and that was why Lin Yi had nothing to fear. Otherwise, the strength would be gone, and if it were any other cultivator, even if they were crippled, it would be extremely difficult for them to recover. Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. He sat down cross-legged and entered the jade space, preparing to start training from the beginning. This wasn't the first time he had lost all his strength, so Lin Yi wasn't nervous. He started the art of dragon mastery, and very soon, the energy in the jade space was mobilized, turning into pure qi and entering Lin Yi's body. When the energy turned into pure qi, it gradually accumulated in Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi finally let out a breath of relief. It seemed that this cheat of his was really something. As long as his meridians were fine, even if he lost all his strength, he could still slowly recover. This situation was similar to the last time he fought with Zhang Naipeo. Lin Yi wasn't in a rush, and he continued training step by step, golden class early phase, peak early phase, mid phase. Lin Yi rushed all the way to peak late phase in just a few hours. Lin Yi's training speed was probably unprecedented. What inheritance, what chrysanthemum scripture. None of them could match Lin Yi's training speed. But when Lin Yi was breaking through to mystic class, something strange happened. From peak late phase to mystic early phase, Lin Yi didn't have to do much, but just as he reached mystic early phase, the strange scene happened again. The pure qi that Lin Yi had just accumulated in his body was like a flood breaking through a dam, quickly draining away. In a moment, Lin Yi's strength dropped to peak late phase. Then it was late phase, mid phase. All the way, Lin Yi was about to become an early phase golden class practitioner. Lin Yi was shocked and quickly channeled the art of dragon mastery, wanting to absorb the energy in the jade space to make up for the loss of pure qi. But the speed of the loss of pure qi was far faster than Lin Yi's training speed. The energy that was replenished couldn't make up for the loss. And so tragedy befell Lin Yi. In a blink of an eye, became a normal person again. Lin Yi was completely flabbergasted at the strangeness of the situation. What was going on? How could the strength that he had just cultivated disappear in just a short while? Lin Yi sat in the jade space, his face unreadable. This was the first time he'd ever come across something as strange as this. He was fine before, so why did his strength disappear the moment he reached mystic class? Lin Yi gritted his teeth and thought for a moment. He didn't want to believe this. Lin Yi channeled the art of dragon mastery again, planning to start from scratch as a normal person, and start all over again. And so Lin Yi's strength began to increase again. And this time the strength didn't disappear so quickly. His pure qi could be accumulated bit by bit, and soon, Lin Yi became an early phase golden class master. This situation made Lin Yi sigh in relief, and he continued to train hard. And so early phase golden class peak, mid phase golden class, all the way to late phase golden class peak. Lin Yi was starting to get a little nervous at this point. The last time was when he was at the peak of the late phase of the golden class. Would something happen again this time? But it seemed that the more he worried about something, the more it would happen. The moment Lin Yi broke through to early phase mystic class, the tragedy of strength disappearing once again befell Lin Yi. The strength in Lin Yi's body began to disappear rapidly for no reason. And this time, Lin Yi didn't even channel the art of dragon mastery to resist because the speed was too fast. It was faster than his training speed, and resisting was futile. Target equals, _blank. Chapter 16:21. There's a problem. There's definitely a problem. After 2 confirmations, Lin Yi could confirm that the snake venom wasn't as simple as he thought it was. It was far more potent than he had imagined. The snake venom in Lin Yi's body wasn't like what Lin Yi had expected. It wasn't spat out or dissolved by pure qi, but it remained in his body. Not only did it remain in his body, but it was also causing havoc in his body, making it impossible for Lin Yi to train normally. Now Lin Yi didn't need to train anymore. The most important thing now was to figure out what this poison was and how to deal with it. If he couldn't deal with it, then wouldn't he be stuck at the peak of the late phase of the golden class forever? This made Lin Yi break out in cold sweat. It seemed like he had been too careless. Boss Zhu wasn't simple after all. Lin Yi gritted his teeth in anger, but there was nothing he could do. Knowing that there would be no result even if he continued to train, Lin Yi quickly calmed down. He was a medical expert, and old Lin was even more of an expert. Although he didn't know much about these sinister tricks, it didn't mean that old Lin didn't know about them. Lin Yi vaguely remembered that he had seen this kind of poison in a medical book. The effect was similar to the snake venom he had today, but this type of poison was mostly used by those sinister medical sections. Thinking about this, Lin Yi thought of Yao Wang. This boss Zhu's style of doing things was quite similar to Yao Wang's. At least this poison was quite in line with Yao Wang's style. This old thing specialized in those harmful drugs. Jiao Lao, what's my situation? Before asking old Lin, Lin Yi decided to ask Jiao Yazi first to see if he had any experience. Holy Hall, you're poisoned, aren't you? Jiao Yazi said nonchalantly. Aren't you a medical expert? Just think of a way to cure it. What's the use of asking me? Can you detoxify this poison? Lin Yi asked with a bitter smile. Me? Jiao Yazi shook his head. I'm not good at this. If you can't refine it with your true qi, it's useless to look for me. I'm only good at treating and detoxifying methods that don't require medicinal herbs. I don't know anything about those that require medicinal herbs. In that case, all right then. Lin Yi nodded. What Jiao Lao said was probably the truth. Jiao Lao was quite familiar with Jin Qi and the acupoints of the human body. However, he lacked knowledge in the field of pharmacology. Lin Yi exited the space in the jade pendant. Although it was already very late, he still dialed old Lin's number. Little Yi? What are you doing? Sleepwalking? Old Lin was still in a daze from sleep. He was still a little groggy when he picked up the phone. 7 *, old man, don't sleep anymore. Something big has happened. Lin Yi said anxiously. Fire? Earthquake? A UFO? Old Lin woke up immediately and realized that there was nothing. He couldn't help but get angry. Are you crazy? Why are you calling me in the middle of the night? What's going on? Old man, I'm crippled. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. What? Crippled? How did he get crippled? Did you overdo it or did someone kick you out? Old Lin asked. Linny was speechless. I said I'm crippled. Aren't you often crippled? Trash is even better. Old Lin smacked his lips and said. It's different this time. I think I was poisoned and my strength disappeared. Linny said. And it's different from usual. Once I reach the early phase of mystic class, my true chi will disappear again. With that, Linny told Old Lin everything that had happened to him and his current condition in detail. Oh, I see. Old Lin frowned after hearing Lin Yi's story. If I'm not wrong, you were poisoned by the 5-step powder. 5-step powder? Why does it sound like half-step powder? Is that a name from a Wuxia novel? Linny blinked. You can say that. Within 5 steps, the poison will take effect and dissipate all the power in the body. Old Lin said, but this 5-step dispersal powder is only effective on mystic class cultivators, and has no effect on earth class and above. Earth class cultivators can dissolve the poison on their own after being poisoned, and there won't be any signs of losing their power. No way. I'm a mystic late phase peak, just 1 step away from earth class. How can I be so unlucky? Linny understood. No wonder Boss Zhu wasn't afraid of hurting himself when he was playing with the grass snake. He was already in earth class and didn't care about these things anymore. You can say that. Old Lin said. You're unlucky. Then why didn't I have any side effects before I reached mystic class? Linny asked curiously. Haha, I already said that this poison only works on mystic class cultivators. So if you're not mystic class, the poison won't take effect. Naturally, there won't be any side effects. Old Lin said. Do you understand now? I see. Linny said. Then Old Lin, since you understand it so well, you should have a way to cure it, right? Linny heard that Old Lin's tone wasn't nervous or panicked at all. He knew that Old Lin must have a way to cure it, so he relaxed a little. Otherwise he'd be stuck at golden class late phase peak for the rest of his life. That would be too much of a joke. Yes, and there are 2 kinds. Boss Lin said in an unfathomable tone. 2? Why don't you tell me? Linny felt even more relaxed after hearing that there were 2 solutions. Even if one didn't work, there was another backup. The first solution is to make the antidote. I have the prescription for the antidote, and you can concoct it yourself. But, Old Man Lin paused for a moment. But what? Is there a problem? Linny asked quickly. But in this antidote prescription, there is a relatively rare herb. Old Lin said. Rare. It wouldn't be the same as the fire spirit's fruit, would it? Linny paused and asked. That's not it. Old Lin shook his head. I've never heard of the fire spirit's fruit, but some experienced doctors know about this herb. It's grown in my herb garden, and I have the seeds of this herb. Then what's the but? Isn't there no problem? Lin Yi was confused. There isn't a problem, but you should have heard of this herb. It's called spring grass. Lin Dongfang said faintly. Chapter 1622. Spring grass. Lin Yi repeated the name of the herb, and his face turned extremely ugly. And at this moment he finally understood what Old Lin's but meant. Spring grass, as the name suggested, was a type of herb that grew in spring. It would wither right after spring, but the medicinal properties of this herb were all in the juice. In other words, only the fresh and tender spring grass juice would be effective. A withered spring grass would be the same as an ordinary withered grass. It was worthless. At this time, spring had already passed, and the spring grass had already withered. This meant that if Lin Yi wanted to cure the poison, he would have to wait until spring next year. If it were in the past, Lin Yi could wait, but not this year. This year, Lin Yi had a lot of important things to do. First, the noble house meeting was about to start, and Lin Yi had to raise his strength to earth class before the meeting, and then forcefully raise his lackeys Chen Yutian, Wu Chintian, and Lingshan to earth class, and cause trouble for House Yu during the meeting. But now that he didn't have the strength, a golden class late phase peak bringing a few mystic early phase masters to cause trouble, that wasn't just looking for trouble, it was looking for death. And this wasn't the most important thing. The second stone door was about to open, and Lin Yi had become a half-cripple. How was he going to carry out the 5-year promise? Although the stone door seemed to only recognize the level of one's practitioner's arts and not strength, who knew if there would be trouble? Third, now that Lin Yi had become a golden class, those who had grudges with Lin Yi would all rush over to cause trouble for Lin Yi after hearing the news, wouldn't they? So Lin Yi had to recover his strength before the news spread. Lin Yi couldn't wait that long. Sacra sacra, I say, old man, don't trick me. Hurry up and tell me the second method. Although the first method is feasible, I can't wait. Lin Yi said. All right, but the second method is more difficult. Since you want to know, I'll tell you. Old Lin paused for a moment before continuing. As long as you cultivate to the earth class, the poison from the 5-step dispersal powder will be neutralized by itself. You don't need to take any antidote at all. It's a natural treatment with no side effects. Ha! Lin Yi was stunned. I can't even pass the mystic rank now. You want me to directly cultivate to the earth rank? Isn't that a joke? How is this possible? How would I know? Old man Lin rolled his eyes and said, I only told you the solution in the medical book. You're asking me how to cultivate, but how am I supposed to know? I think it's for you to absorb enough pure qi from the peak of the late phase of the golden class. You'll be able to surpass the early phase of the mystic class, the peak of the early phase of the mystic class, the peak of the mid phase of the mystic class, the late phase of the mystic class, and the peak of the late phase of the mystic class. Old man, do you think that's possible? Lin Yi didn't know what to say. It was already so difficult for him to reach the peak of the late phase of the mystic class from the late phase of the mystic class, let alone the earth class. If Lin Yi was an earth class before he lost his strength, then it might be possible for him to break through in one go. But now, Lin Yi felt that this method was too unrealistic. Impossible. 7 asterisk. Old Lin said straightforwardly. Ah. Lin Yi paused. So you can bring your first wife, second wife, and whatnot back to hide. Here, I don't dare say much about other things, but I do have some influence among the hidden houses. As long as you don't mess with the ancient sects, you won't be much of a threat. Old Lin said. Plus, you have the Ice Palace Master Wife protecting you, so the ancient sects will give you some face. Come back and hide. Lin Yi almost fainted. Hide? Are you kidding me? And who would even know who Xiao Xiao is? Old man, can you stop messing with me? The Ice Palace had made it very clear that Bingtang wouldn't stand up for me. At least before Xiao Xiao becomes a Sky Realm expert, Bingtang wouldn't go against the other ancient aristocratic families or sects for me. Unless Xiao Xiao controls the Ice Palace. Besides, I have a lot of grievances to settle. The arrow is already knocked on the bowstring and has to be released. You sent me here, but you didn't solve anything. Instead, you left a big mess behind, and now you want me to go back and take refuge? Then pretend I didn't say anything. I've told you the method, you figure it out yourself. Old Lin yawned. I'm sleepy, I'm going back to sleep. Good night. With that, Old Lin hung up and ignored Lin Yi. Lin Yi was speechless, but he didn't have anything to complain about. Old Lin was telling the truth. And no matter how much he asked, these were the only 2 methods he could think of. The first method was definitely impossible. Spring grass had a seasonal characteristic, and this type of herb had to be planted according to the seasons and climates. Even if it was planted in a greenhouse, the things that came out would be completely different. Moreover, even if he could plant it now, it would be too late. From the time the grass was planted to germinate and mature, it would take at least 2 months. Moreover, there was only about half a month left for the aristocratic family assembly. The second method seemed difficult, but it was the only way. Even if Lin Yi knew it was difficult, he had to try it. But how was he going to test it? No matter what, Lin Yi had to first increase his strength to the peak of the late phase of the golden class, and then try to break through to the earth class. After entering the jade space, Lin Yi quickly changed his strength to the peak of the late phase of the golden class. Then Lin Yi stopped and started to think of a solution. To break through 6 levels from the peak of the late phase of the golden class to the earth class was extremely difficult, and it required a large amount of pure qi. Just as Old Lin said, if he could absorb all this pure qi into his body, then he could instantly break through the mystic class and become an earth class. But how could he absorb all this pure qi into his body at once? Cultivation had to be done step by step, and everything had to be done in an orderly manner. He couldn't break the rules, could he? From the peak of the late phase of the golden class to the earth class, how much energy is needed to level up in one go? And how do I absorb all this energy into my body? Linny frowned and muttered to himself. Chapter 16:23. Don't you know how to compress qi? Why don't you try sucking it in? Jiao Yazi, who hadn't spoken all this while, spoke up lazily to Lin Yi. 7 asterisk. That's right. Lin Yi came to a sudden realization. He knew how to compress qi. He could compress it outside his body, and once it reached a certain amount, he could absorb it all into his body. Wouldn't he be able to break through in one go? Thinking about this, Lin Yi really wanted to run over and kiss Jiao Lao, but he was afraid that the old thing would think that they were good friends. Lin Yi thought about it and decided not to. If he had the time, he might as well start experimenting right now. Lin Yi estimated the amount of energy he would need to go from golden class late phase peak to mystic class late phase peak, and then started compressing the energy around his body. Although he didn't know if this method would work, Lin Yi had no other choice. He could only try it as a last resort. Compressing energy required time and control. At the beginning, it was easier for Lin Yi to compress energy, but as time went on, it became harder and harder to control. Lin Yi realized that the maximum amount of energy he could compress each time was the total amount of energy in his body. In other words, the amount of energy Lin Yi could compress now was equal to the total amount of energy in Lin Yi's body. Once it exceeded this amount, it became a lot harder for Lin Yi to compress. Not only did it slow down, but he also felt that the energy outside his body was becoming extremely unstable, as if it would explode if he wasn't careful. Lin Yi could only slowly compress it as if he was walking on thin ice. It was like building blocks. The higher the pile, the harder it was. If he wasn't careful, it could all fall down. Finally, Lin Yi felt that he couldn't control it anymore, and quickly sucked the compressed qi into his body. Lin Yi was afraid that the compressed energy would explode in an instant, so he chose to release it slowly, bit by bit. Although it was slow, it was only a little slower than normal release speed. Even if it was just a little slower, it wouldn't have caused such an explosion. It was like a balloon that might explode if you poked it with a needle. However, if you released the air plug, the balloon would not explode even though it would deflate quickly. Takidara, the reason why Lin Yi didn't dare to be too slow was because he was afraid that the poison of the 5-step powder would act up again after he broke through the mystic stage. Late phase of mystic class. This time, the compressed energy Lin Yi absorbed was only enough for him to recover to the late phase of mystic class. After that, the poison of the 5-step dispersed powder acted up once more, and the energy in Lin Yi's body leaked out once more, and Lin Yi became a normal person once more. However, Lin Yi was not disheartened. The facts proved that his method was still feasible. So Lin Yi didn't give up. After resting for a while, he once again raised his strength to the peak of the late phase of the golden class, and started to compress his qi again. To be honest, it was really like playing a game. He held the compressed energy ball in his hand carefully, afraid that it would explode if he wasn't careful. As expected, very soon Lin Yi accidentally made the energy ball explode. However, Lin Yi didn't give up, because the energy ball he made this time was obviously bigger than the first one, and the energy inside was also more. Although it was only a small difference, it represented the first step of success. Lin Yi believed that with his perseverance and hard work, victory wasn't far away. This was a technical job. Lin Yi carefully started to compress the third energy ball. Hidden in the Tang family, after old Master Tang arranged the family affairs, he brought Tang Yuyu and Xiaoming and prepared to head to the Ice-Snow Spiritual Mountain. Everyone in the family felt that it was very strange. Ever since old Master Tang became a heaven-class expert, he had never left the house. He had always been cultivating in seclusion at home, and he rarely asked about the family's affairs. At this time, he suddenly wanted to go out, and he even brought Tang Yuyu and Xiaoming with him. If he only brought Tang Yuyu, it would still make sense. But bringing Xiaoming, a daughter-in-law who had been thrown into the cold palace by the eldest daughter-in-law many years ago, was a little strange. Tang Yuyu's father, eldest Tang, wanted to say something but stopped. He wanted to ask his father what he was going to do this time, but he didn't dare to ask. Although old Master Tang was no longer the head of the family, he still had the final say in the matters of the hidden Tang family. Moreover, if he didn't agree, eldest Tang's position as the head of the family would be useless. And old Master Tang didn't say where he was going or what he was going to do. So everyone in the Tang family was even more puzzled. He didn't dare to ask Grandfather Tang, but eldest brother Tang dared to ask his son. In private, eldest brother Tang found an opportunity to pull Tang Yu into his room, and asked him in a low voice, Yu, what are you going to do with Grandfather Tang? Why is this so sudden? There weren't any signs at all? Father, don't make things difficult for me. How can I say anything about Grandpa's decision? Moreover, I don't know much. You know Grandpa's temper. If I say anything, won't I make Grandpa angry? Tang Yu smiled bitterly as he explained. Eldest Tang sighed. He knew what old Master Tang was thinking. Once he made a decision, it was a decision. It was useless for others to say anything. Moreover, this child Yu didn't know much. At most, he was just a foil. But old Master Tang also called Xiaoming along. That was a little strange. Xiaoming was his concubine. Logically speaking, old Master Tang was her father-in-law. Wasn't it a little inappropriate for him to bring her along? After thinking about it, Tang Yu could only find Xiaoming to ask. Thus he sighed and said to Yu, forget it, Yu. Go do what you need to do. It's fine now. After Tang Yu left, eldest Tang quickly walked to the courtyard where Xiaoming was. He hadn't stepped into this courtyard for more than 10 years. He was a timid man. Back then, after his wife flew into a rage, eldest Tang didn't dare to meet with Xiaoming in private anymore. It was as if he had forgotten about this concubine. If it wasn't for the fact that he had something to do today, he wouldn't have come here. Patriarch, please stop. Eldest Tang was walking with a heavy heart. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Then, a black shadow floated over and blocked in front of eldest Tang. Eldest Tang was about to get angry when he was blocked. But when he saw the person in front of him, his expression froze. He quickly put on a smile and said, Isn't this Uncle Da? Uncle Dabai, why are you here? I came to see Xiaoming. Target =_blank. Chapter 1624. Master, please go back. No one is allowed to enter or leave this courtyard for now. Uncle Dabo said plainly. This, Uncle Xiaoming is my concubine. Isn't it natural for me to visit her? Why are you? Eldest brother Tang's expression didn't look too good. Although Dabo was one of Elder Tang's people, wasn't he being too lenient? He was here to visit his concubine, why couldn't he? This is the old master's order. I'm sorry. Dabo said expressionlessly. Master, don't make things difficult for me. Tang Lauda stared blankly for a moment. When he heard that it was his father's idea, he sighed. It seemed that his wish to obtain information from Xiaoming had failed. If he tried to force his way in, not only would he not be able to defeat Uncle Da, if his father found out about it, his position as the family head would be in jeopardy. Thinking up to this point, eldest brother Tang could only leave helplessly. Elder Tang's reason for leaving was very strange. It was going to be his 80th birthday soon. Before the birthday, he wanted to go out and have a look. And he brought Tang Yu because he was the eldest grandson, so he wanted to bring him along to gain some experience. This reason made sense. Elder Tang's thoughts were wild and imaginative, so no one doubted it. But for Xiaoming, Elder Tang's reason was that Xiaoming had been cooped up at home for so many years. After all, she was the daughter-in-law of the Tang family. It wasn't good to treat her like this, so he brought her out to relax. If it wasn't for the fact that Elder Tang had given up on alcohol and women long ago, everyone in the family would have thought that Elder Tang was interested in Xiaoming. But the hidden Tang family was rich and powerful. What kind of beautiful woman couldn't they find? If Elder Tang wanted to, he could find a whole bunch of them. It was impossible for him to have any ideas about Xiaoming. And this way, the combination of these three people was even more unfathomable. But even though they were unfathomable, the hidden Tang family still had to operate. Elder Tang brought Tang Yu and Xiaoming away, while eldest brother Tang continued to be the head of the family. Also, he didn't dare to send anyone to follow Elder Tang to see what he was doing. After all, Grandfather Tang was a heaven-rank expert. His perception was extremely strong. If eldest brother Tang did something behind his back and Grandfather Tang found out, he would have to bear the consequences. Once old Master Tang left the house, he brought Tang Yuyu and Xiaoming straight to the icy snow spiritual mountain. When they reached the icy snow spiritual town, they arrived at the inn opened by Manager Li of the Ice Palace. "Hello, we're checking in," Tang Yuyu politely said to Manager Li, who was sitting there with his eyes closed and almost asleep. 7 stay in the inn? Manager Li was taken aback. He raised his head and looked at Tang Yuyu. His expression changed immediately. His memory was quite good, and he had an impression of Tang Yuyu. This person was one of the Ice Palace's trial takers, but he couldn't remember exactly which sect he was from. "It's you? Why are you back?" "Hello, Manager Li. This is my grandfather, the head of the Hidden Tang family. This time, I'm actually here to see the Ice Palace's palace master. I hope that Elder Li can help me report this." Tang Yuyu knew his position in the eyes of the Ice Palace, so he didn't beat around the bush and told Manager Li his request. Although it was a bit direct, he believed that if he beat around the bush, it would annoy Manager Li even more. "Oh, seeking an audience with the Ice Palace's palace master?" Manager Li couldn't help but find Tang Yuyu's words funny. A small hidden family's head was actually seeking an audience with an ancient sect's palace master? Wasn't he overestimating himself? However, shopkeeper Li still held back his laughter and said, "If you have something to say, I can help you pass on the message, but when it comes to requesting an audience with the palace lord, let alone you, even I would find it difficult to request an audience." That's fine. I'll write a letter and ask Manager Li to pass it on. Is that all right?" Tang Yuyu didn't insist. After all, he was right. How could someone from the Hidden Tang family meet the Ice Palace master just like that? That's fine. Manager Li was in charge of the Ice Palace's communications. He was in charge of the Ice Palace's communications with other sects and families. So, Tang Yuyu's request wasn't too much, so he agreed. "Then I'll have to trouble you, Manager Li. First get us 2 rooms. We'll stay here and wait for the palace master's reply," Tang Yuyu said. "Staying here is no problem, but I can't guarantee that the palace master won't reply," Manager Li said. "Give me your ID and a deposit, and I'll get you a room." Elder Tang, Tang Yuyu, and Xiaoming quickly took out their IDs and deposits. After paying, they received their room cards and returned to their rooms. As for the letter to the Ice Palace master, it was rather simple. Tang Yuyu and Old Man Tang discussed it for a bit, and decided to simply write down their speculations about her past, and invite her to meet them. The letter was written very politely. Even if they weren't relatives, the Ice Palace master wouldn't blame them for a Hidden Tang family. After writing the letter, Tang Yuyu sealed it, and handed it to Manager Li for him to pass it to the palace master. The 3 of them waited in the inn for news. At the peak of the snow mountain, within the sect master's room, Qing's expression was solemn as she held a letter and ran to the sect master. "Sect master, please take a look at this letter." The Ice Palace master's letters were usually screened by little Qing first. Those that could be dealt with would be dealt with, and those that couldn't be dealt with would be handed over to Bingtang. And this letter was obviously one of the most important ones. Bingtang was startled. She rarely saw little Qing in such a hurry. "Aunt Qing, where did this letter come from? Why are you in such a rush?" "Palace master, you should take a look for yourself." Little Qing smiled bitterly and said with a strange expression, "Oh, okay." Rock Candy saw that little Qing's expression was a little unnatural, so she nodded and took the letter. She read it, but halfway through, Rock Candy's face changed. Her hands holding the letter were also trembling slightly. After all, she was an expert at the peak of the late phase of the heaven rank. She rarely showed her emotions, but this time, she lost her composure. "Do I look like me? Aunt Qing, is that possible? This. Palace master this." Xiao Qing muttered to herself for a moment, and decided to speak the truth. "Palace master, do you really care about your past?" Little Qing's words couldn't help but make Bingtang silent. Chapter 1625. She grew up in the Ice Palace and had never seen her biological parents. Here, Aunt Qing and her were like her family, taking care of her. To be honest, Bingtang thought that this was enough. Even if she didn't have parents, it didn't matter. She thought that she would be relieved, however, after reading this letter, Bingtang realized that she still couldn't let it go in her heart. He wanted to know. He wanted to know who his parents were. He wanted to know why his parents abandoned him. Why did they do that? They gave birth to her but didn't raise her? And this letter was written by the Hidden Tang family. This made Rock Candy even more confused and angry. Hidden Tang family wasn't as powerful as the Ice Palace, but in the mortal world, they were still a huge existence. They were many times more powerful than the noble families. How could such a noble family abandon their child? Did they do it on purpose or by accident? And after finding out that she was the sect master of the Ice Palace, they wanted to recognize her? What did they do before? However, despite her anger, Bingtang was still trying to excuse her parents. Perhaps they really did accidentally lose her back then, or perhaps it wasn't that they didn't stop looking for her, but that they had been looking for her all these years. However, she was in the Ice Palace. How could they find her? They couldn't find her at all. These reasons calmed the grief and indignation in Bingtang's heart a little. She was a person who didn't show her emotions, and usually looked cold. After taking a deep breath, she put the letter on the table beside her and said lightly, "Aunt Qing, you raised me up and taught me martial arts. You are the closest person to me. But my birth parents, no matter for what reason they abandoned me, they are still my parents after all. It is impossible for me to say that I don't care. But I just want to figure out what happened in the past and figure out my life experience. Aunt Qing, you never mentioned the situation when you and the old lady picked me up. Now, can you tell me about it?" Qing sighed. "It's not that I didn't want to tell you before, but I was afraid that it would affect your mood. You were still young then, and your mind wasn't stable. But now you are a heaven-class late-phase peak master. You don't have to care about this anymore. But since you didn't ask, I didn't bring up the sad past. Now that it happened, I will tell you about what happened back then." "Yes, Aunt Qing, please speak." Rock Candy gestured for him to speak. Her mood had returned to calmness. Her expression was very indifferent, and no one could tell whether she was happy or sad. "Back then, I wasn't a sky class yet, but I was so close to breaking through from late phase peak to sky class. The old sect master saw this, and took me out on a journey so that I could break through." Qing said, "You know that in many situations getting to Earth class depends on hard work, and after that depends on luck. Sky class isn't that easy to get into, and our Ice Palace wasn't as strong as it is now. Having another sky class was a good thing. Therefore, the old palace master brought me to travel the secular world. And the place we traveled to was where the Hidden Tang family was." "What? It's really hidden in the Tang family?" Rock Candy's expression changed slightly. Originally, she had some doubts about the credibility of this letter. However, after hearing Little Qing's words, her heart immediately tightened. Could it be that what was written in this letter was true? It was where the Hidden Tang family was. It was a snowy night, and the old palace master and I were preparing to go outside to comprehend, to see if there was an opportunity to break through. Qing said. Rock Candy nodded. Their ice palace's heart arts were mainly based on ice. The colder the area and weather, the more beneficial it was for them. And when I, the old palace master Ha, came to an empty field to prepare, I suddenly heard waves of baby crying. Little Qing said. Out of curiosity, you and I followed the sound. In the end, we found a swaddle in the snow. That baby was me? Rock Candy had already guessed that the baby in the snow was her without a doubt. Yes, at that time, the palace master's face was already red from the cold, but you still didn't die. This made the old palace master and I very confused. Little Qing said. When we arrived at the outskirts, there was no one nearby. With your perception as a heaven rank expert, you should be able to sense the surroundings from far away. In other words, the person who abandoned you must have walked for at least half an hour. And in this half an hour, you, a newborn baby, actually didn't freeze to death in this snowy wilderness. It's really amazing. Rock Candy's face slightly darkened. Wilderness? If it was in a bustling market, it could still explain that she was accidentally lost. But in the wilderness, and in the middle of the night, it was obviously abandoned. That place was desolate and uninhabited? Rock Candy asked. Yes, or else you and I wouldn't be there. Qing said. We knew that the Hidden Tang family was in that town, so we deliberately distanced ourselves from their place. The goal was to not be sensed by them. You have to know that when we move, we will use the surrounding spiritual energy. If we are close, we will be sensed by others. And Aunt Qing continue. Rock Candy didn't say anything else and just signaled Qing to continue. Originally, the old palace master's intention was to bring you back to the ice palace, find someone to raise you, and keep you in the ice palace. Qing continued. But you didn't freeze to death after so long. The old palace master was curious, so he subconsciously checked your body to see if there were any frostbite. In the end, he found out that you actually have a fake ice heart jade bone physique. This is a special constitution that is second only to the icy heart jade bone constitution. It's perfect for our ice palace's mental cultivation method. That's why the elder palace master was so excited back then. He didn't expect to have such an opportunity. You should know that the icy heart jade bone constitution is a constitution that only appears once in 100 years. Even the elder palace master himself doesn't have it. At that time, it was all thanks to Aunt Qing. Otherwise, even if I had a fake ice heart and jade bone physique, I would have frozen to death. When Bingtang said this, there was not much expression on her face. However, little Qing could hear the anger in her words. She could not help but smile bitterly. This hidden Tang family was really lost, and now they were looking for it again. After that, the old palace master and I carried you back to the hotel. In the end, we found a Tang character on your swaddling clothes, so we guessed that your real surname might be Tang. Little Qing continued.